Audio 1.1.
Communication between people from different cultures involves far more than simply understanding each other's words. For communication to be successful, we need to be aware of others' rules of conversation, like how far apart we should stand, which topics are acceptable to talk about, or whether it's okay to interrupt a person or to be silent. Getting these things wrong can lead to misunderstandings or even cause offense. So let's look first at the question of personal space. How far apart do you stand during conversation? Well, this varies widely between cultures. In North America, the average distance between two people who are not close friends, who are engaged in casual conversation, is 45 centimeters. But in Western Europe, this distance is a little less, 36 to 40 centimeters. In Japan, a respectful distance is considered to be around 90 centimeters, whereas in the Middle East, a distance of 20 to 30 centimeters is the norm. You need to get these distances right. Stand too close, and you might make someone feel awkward. Too far away, and you will give the impression of being distant and unfriendly. Another important aspect of cross-cultural communication is the number of silences in a conversation. Most Europeans and North Americans avoid long silences. For them, silence suggests something negative. It can mean that you feel uncomfortable or shy or angry, or that you are not interested in the topic. But in some East Asian countries, for example, silences are perfectly acceptable. In fact, silence is seen as a positive thing. It shows respect. It shows you are listening. Voice volume also differs greatly between cultures. People from South America, for example, or Southern Europe, tend to speak more loudly than people from Northern Europe. It is easy, for example, to think a group of people from Brazil are having an argument, when in fact, they are just having an enthusiastic discussion. In some parts of East Asia, on the other hand, people speak more softly than either Europeans or Americans. Another key to successful communication between cultures is knowing which topics are appropriate to discuss. Different cultures have different rules, and it's easy to put your foot in it by asking the wrong questions, particularly when making small talk with people you don't know well. In many countries, like China, for instance, it's very normal to ask somebody how old they are or how much they earn. But a person from the UK, for example, wouldn't feel at ease with these questions. Questions about somebody's political views are also not appropriate. Safer topics of conversation would include questions about where they are from or about sport. And, of course, the weather is also a favorite. And finally, I'd like to talk about gestures, the signs we make with our hands. Although many gestures have the same meaning the world over, there are a few common ones which can offend people in some countries. The "come here" sign, made by curling your finger towards you, is extremely rude in many countries, including Slovakia and many parts of Southeast Asia. In the Philippines, you can actually be arrested for making this gesture. And then there's the thumbs up sign, which in many parts of the world means well done or I like it. However, in some countries like Greece and countries in the Middle East, it can cause great offense.
Audio 1.2.
I've been working very hard lately. Have you been waiting long? How long have you been here?
Audio 1.3. 1.
Have you been practicing your English much this week? Have you been practicing your English much this week?
2.
Have you been having a good day? Have you been having a good day?
3.
Have you been watching any good TV programs recently? Have you been watching any good TV programs recently?
4.
Have you been spending much time outdoors lately? Have you been spending much time outdoors lately?
5.
Have you been going out much in the evenings? Have you been going out much in the evenings?
Audio 1.4.
How many whistling sounds are you familiar with? There are quite a few in common use, aren't there? We whistle when we want to get someone's attention. We whistle to show our appreciation, at a concert, for example. And then there's this whistle. But did you know that on the Spanish island of La Gomera, there is an entire whistling language? This language has existed for thousands of years and is still spoken, whistled today. Listen to this. Extraordinary, isn't it? Have you any idea what the conversation was about? Well, according to the translation I have here, they were discussing a party and one was asking the other to go and get a musical instrument to bring to it. The language is called Silbo Gomero, the whistling language of the island of La Gomera. Last year, I decided to go to La Gomera to find out for myself.
Audio 1.5. Conversation 1.
Hello, am I speaking to Mrs. Helen Carter?
Yes, speaking.
How are you today, Mrs. Carter?
Fine. Who am I speaking to?
I'm calling from the Northern Energy Company, and I would like to inform you of a superb electricity deal that we are offering.
No. Can you just stop there, please? I'm not interested.
You're not interested in saving money on your energy bills, Mrs. Carter?
No, I'm not interested in buying anything from you. I don't take sales calls. So would you remove my details from your database, please? Thank you. Goodbye.
Conversation 2.
Well, Joe, it's been great talking to you. Thanks a lot for calling.
My pleasure. It's been good to hear all your news.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But listen, I'd better get off the phone. I'm still at the office and I've got a ton of work to do.
Yes, I'll let you get on. OK. Listen, before you go, tell me, do you ever see anything of Clive?
Clive? Yes, I see him occasionally. He's fine. Anyway...
We used to have such a laugh together, me and Clive. I never hear anything from him these days.
No, well, he's pretty busy. Anyway, listen, Joe, I've really got to get off the phone. I'll give you a call soon. We'll get together for a drink or something.
Yes, that would be good. We could go to that place down by the river. What's it called?
Yeah, we'll work that out when we speak. OK? Cheers, Joe. I'll be in touch. Bye.
Conversation 3.
Hello, is that Sarah Fox?
Yes, it is.
Oh, hello, this is Steve from the garage. Just calling to let you know that we've had a look at the car and we estimate that it's going to cost £550 to repair the engine. So if you'd like us to go ahead with it, could you...
Sorry, Steve. Just bear with me a moment. Rosie, let Thomas play with the balloon, please.
It's my special birthday balloon. I just
What?
to play with it for a little
Yes,
while.
I know it's your special birthday balloon, but I told you you've got to share.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
stop it.
Yes, $5.50 did you say? Well, yes, that's more than I'd hoped, but if it needs to be done, then,
Give it to me, Rosie.
sorry.
Oi!
Oi! Children, stop that!
Go away.
Steve, look, I'm going to have to go and deal with this. I'm afraid you've caught me at a bad time. I'll call you back in a few minutes.
That's no problem at all. I'll wait to hear from you.
Please. Tell her, Mum.
Conversation 4.
Hi, Rafa. Thanks for getting back to me. Yes. I was just calling to talk through the agenda for the management training day next Tuesday. Yes. That's right. Yes. 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 Sorry? Sorry, it's just that I can't hear you very well. I'm working from home today and the coverage isn't too good here. Yes. Sorry, Rafa, you're breaking up again. Could you just say that again? Yes. Yes, I'll contact the managers about that. Yes. Rafa. Sorry, I'm losing you again. Could you do me a favor? Could you call me back on my landline? You've got my number, haven't you? Cheers.
Audio 1.6. 1,
I don't take sales calls.
2,
Would you remove my name from your database?
3,
It's been great talking to you.
4,
I'd better get off the phone.
5,
I'll let you get on.
6,
I've got a ton of work to do.
7,
I won't take up any more of your time.
8,
Just bear with me a moment.
9,
I'm afraid you've caught me at a bad time.
10,
Could you just hold the line?
11,
The coverage isn't too good here.
12,
You're breaking up.
13,
I'm losing you again.
14,
Could you call me back on my landline?
Audio 1.7. 1,
If an email is confidential, should it be shared with other people?
2,
Do you cross out a word with a rubber?
3,
Do stationery shops sell envelopes?
4,
Can you CC somebody into a handwritten letter?
5,
Does an emoticon show your feelings?
6,
Is an instant message the same as a text message?
7,
Can you keep an inbox on your desk?
8.
Do you put a postage stamp inside an envelope?
Audio 2.1. Conversation 1.
You know what I'd love to do one day?
What's that?
I'd love to go to Peru and walk the Inca Trail. You know, the path that takes you from the Amazon rainforest through the Andes Mountains to Machu Picchu, the lost city of the Incas.
Oh, I'd love to go to Machu Picchu. Apparently, the views are absolutely stunning. Not sure about the trek, though. Sounds like hard work to me, trekking up and down mountains with all your baggage. You'd have to be really fit.
That's all part of the challenge.
And then you'd have to camp in tents with very basic facilities. It's not really my thing. I'm not very good at roughing it. I like life's little luxuries.
Oh, come on. You need to be more adventurous. Step out of your comfort zone. It's really good for you sometimes, you know.
Yes, I guess you're right.
Conversation 2.
If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Antarctica.
Antarctica?
Yes, Antarctica. Because it's so different from anywhere else in the world. I'd like to experience being in a completely remote environment with nothing else around. I'd like to see the penguins in their natural habitat. I'd like to see the icebergs in all their different shapes and colours.
Brr.
What? Wouldn't you like to see an iceberg with your own eyes? It would be a breathtaking sight.
Yes, of course I would. It's just the cold weather that doesn't appeal to me that much.
Don't be silly. You'd be wearing a special thick coat. It wouldn't be that bad. And anyway, it'd be really interesting to experience the extreme conditions the Antarctic explorers had to face.
Yes, it would. For a minute.
Conversation 3.
A place I'd really like to go to on holiday this year is Istanbul. Have you ever been?
To Istanbul? No, but it sounds wonderful, with all those magnificent historic buildings, like the Blue Mosque and the royal palaces.
Yeah, I'd love to see those. And it would be great just to wander around the old streets and soak up the atmosphere.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Wasn't Istanbul a European city of culture a few years ago?
Yes, it was. So it's become quite a popular destination now. I imagine it gets quite touristy in the summer, so it's probably best to go out of season.
Yeah, true. So, will you learn some Turkish before you go?
I'm sure I'll learn a few phrases. But actually, I quite like the idea of going somewhere I don't speak the language. It kind of adds to the adventure, if you know what I mean.
I do. Well, if you need a traveling companion, let me know.
Audio 2.2.
Henry Box Brown was born a slave in 1816 in Virginia. From the age of 15, he worked at a tobacco factory. His owner, a man named William Barrett, treated him kindly in comparison to some slave owners. Brown received payment for the work he did, and, unlike other slaves, he didn't suffer physical abuse. But his was a different kind of suffering. In 1836, when Brown was in his early 20s, he fell in love with a young woman named Nancy, who was owned by a different master. In order to get married, they needed both masters' agreement. Both gave their permission, and Nancy's master also agreed that he wouldn't sell her to another owner, as this might lead to the couple's separation. The two got married, and lived in their own house. They had 3 children together and were expecting another, when one day Nancy's master broke his promise, and she and the children were sold to a slave owner in North Carolina. Brown asked his master, Barrett, to help, but was told, "You can get another wife." The next morning, Nancy and the children were marched through the streets with 350 other slaves. Brown held his wife's hand for 4 miles until the slaves were herded into wagons for their journey to North Carolina. They never saw each other again. This terrible loss made Brown determined to escape slavery, and one day he came up with the idea of mailing himself to freedom in a box. With the assistance of 2 friends, he contacted the anti-slavery organization in Philadelphia and made arrangements for them to receive the package. He asked another friend, who was a carpenter, to build him a box that was 3 feet long, 2.5 feet deep, and 2 feet in width. On the outside, Brown painted "right side up with care" and squeezed himself inside. Brown had water in the box and breathing holes, but the 27-hour journey, during which he traveled on 3 trains, 2 boats, and 3 road wagons, was horrendous. At one point, he almost died after he had been sitting in an upside-down position for several hours. Amazingly, he survived the journey, and after he arrived in Philadelphia, he was free. He became a member of the anti-slavery movement. Also, because of the extraordinary courage and determination that he had shown, his story became famous, and the box itself became a symbol of the injustice of slavery.
Audio 2.3.
Anxious, bitter, delighted, disorientated, down, furious, hurt, miserable, petrified, puzzled, relieved, satisfied, tense, terrified.
Audio 2.4.
Hello and welcome to the programme. This morning we're talking about one of the hottest new trends in travel, learning holidays. Ilana Cantor is senior editor of the travel magazine Escape, and she's here to give us her selection of the most interesting and unusual learning holidays that are on offer today. Welcome, Ilana.
Thanks for having me.
So, some people, when you say the words learning holiday, they're going to think, boring. But that's not the case at all, is it?
No, not at all. They're not boring at all. Nowadays, there are so many interesting learning vacations that you can go on. Like, for example...
Audio 2.5.
Understanding different accents. There are many regional accents in both North America and Britain. Below are some of the most important general differences between Standard North American English and Standard British English. One of the most noticeable differences is the pronunciation of O. In North American English, O often sounds like ah or ah. For example, not and strong, in contrast to British English, not and strong. Some words with R in standard British English are pronounced with in North American English. For example, ask and aunt. In contrast to British English, ask and aunt. In North American English, T often sounds like D in the middle of words. For example, water and rider. In North American English, R is always pronounced. For example, car. In standard British English, it is generally pronounced before a vowel. For example, career.
Audio 2.6. 1,
Castle.
2,
Arm.
3,
Rocket.
4,
Learning.
5,
Matter.
6,
Got.
7,
Falconry.
Audio 2.7. 1,
No, not at all.
No, not at all.
2,
You've got a chance to train.
You've got a chance to train.
3,
What an incredible opportunity.
What an incredible opportunity.
4,
Have you ever wanted to go to space camp?
Have you ever wanted to go to space camp?
5,
I'm more of a water person.
I'm more of a water person.
Audio 2.8. 1,
You get a little certificate. You get a little certificate.
2,
One of the hottest new trends in travel. One of the hottest new trends in travel.
3,
Where did you learn to surf? Where did you learn to surf?
4,
I read about it on the internet. I read about it on the internet.
Audio 2.9.
Go on, like, for example, last fall I did a falconry course at Ashford Castle in Ireland. It's so incredible. You're walking through the grounds of this historic castle, which dates all the way back to 1228, with this huge bird perched on your arm.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's magical. You feel like you're in a Harry Potter film.
Yeah. But isn't it a bit dangerous?
No, not dangerous at all. The falcons are well trained, so it's super, super safe.
I love that one. So what's next on your list of recommendations?
Well, if you ever wanted to go to space camp as a child but never got the chance, then this one might be for you. The Adult Space Academy at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Alabama, USA, holds 3-day courses that give you a taste of what it's like to train as an astronaut. So you're taught how to launch and land a space shuttle, and using flight simulator machines, you get to experience the conditions of low gravity and
you get to have a go at moonwalking.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does, right? And the cost of the course includes accommodation in the Space Center, where you share small rooms with up to 7 people, so you really get the full astronaut experience.
Sounds wonderful. So tell us about the last learning holiday on your list.
Well, this one is really quite unusual. In Rome, Italy, there's actually a gladiator school.
Seriously?
I know, crazy, isn't it? You've got a chance to train and experience what it was like to fight as a gladiator. It's kind of like a martial arts workout. You engage in hand-to-hand combat with your instructors, and they give you the full Roman outfit. So you're wearing the tunic, the belt, the sandals. The instructors are from the historic group of Rome, and at the end, you get a little certificate saying that you've completed your course.
Thank you so much for coming in, Ilana. These sound like fun and rewarding learning holidays.
Audio 2.10. Conversation 1. Jamie.
Have I ever told you about the camping experience we had in France?
Don't think so, no.
No? Okay. Well, this happened about 10 years ago, when the kids were really young. We'd been camping in the south of France in our camper van, and we were on our way home. We booked into a campsite outside Paris, just for one night to break up the long journey. Anyway, we reached the suburbs of Paris at about 3 a.m. The kids were fast asleep in the back. I was driving and Liz was reading the map. This was in the days before sat-nav, of course. But Liz was doing a rubbish job of navigating and we kept on getting lost.
I'm not surprised. At 3 a.m?
Yeah, well, anyway, I was getting more and more annoyed with her. And in the end, she threw the map at me and said, "OK, you find the campsite," and then fell asleep. So I carried on driving for a bit, but I was feeling pretty exhausted. So when I saw a big, empty car park by the side of the road, I thought, forget the campsite, I'll just park here for the night. Anyway, next morning I woke up. Suddenly I could hear children's voices, lots of them, talking, shouting, laughing. I thought, what on earth is going on? So I got up, opened the door and you'll never guess what I saw.
What?
Hundreds of children staring at me. You know what I'd done? I'd parked in a school playground.
Oh, no! You must have been so embarrassed.
I couldn't believe it. So I threw on my clothes, jumped into the driver's seat and made a very quick exit.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah, well, it sounds funny now, but it wasn't so funny at the time, I can tell you.
Conversation 2. Sabrina.
Did you hear about my recent travel nightmare?
No? What happened?
Well, I was going to Mumbai for a work conference. This was about a month ago now. I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get the coach to the airport. Anyway, about half an hour into the coach journey, we got stuck in a traffic jam.
What? At that time of the morning?
Yeah, well, apparently there'd been an accident on the motorway ahead of us. A lorry had turned over. So we were crawling along and I was beginning to get a bit nervous about missing my flight. Anyway, we ended up getting to the airport about an hour late. So I ran to the check-in desk and got there just as it was closing. Then I dashed to security control and, just my luck, there was a massive queue there. By now, I was getting seriously stressed about missing the flight. And then, to make matters worse, they decided to search my hand luggage. Anyway, I then ran through to the departure lounge, and you're not going to believe this.
What?
The flight had been cancelled.
No way!
Yup. Technical problems with the aircraft, apparently. So, to cut a long story short, I had to wait in the airport for 9 hours before the next flight to Mumbai. 9 hours! Just waiting, and with very little information about what was going on.
Sounds awful.
It was. But that isn't the end of the story.
You're joking. What else could possibly go wrong? Oh no. Don't tell me. They lost your luggage?
Yup, you guessed it.
You can't be serious.
Totally serious. They lost my luggage. Just for a day, but still very inconvenient.
I bet you were furious.
I was absolutely furious.
Did you complain?
I certainly did.
Audio 2.11. 1,
I'm not surprised.
2,
You must have been so embarrassed.
3,
I bet you were furious.
4,
You're kidding.
5,
That is hilarious.
6,
You can't be serious.
Audio 2.12. 1, A,
You're kidding.
B,
You're kidding.
2, A,
That's hilarious.
B,
That's hilarious.
3, A,
I bet you were furious.
B,
I bet you were furious.
Audio 2.13. 1,
Vacation.
2,
Restroom.
3,
Sidewalk.
4,
Travel trailer.
5,
Truck.
6,
Trunk.
7,
Garbage.
8,
Gasoline.
Audio 3.1.
Hello, and welcome to Future Perfect. With us in the studio today, we have careers consultant John Moody. John, how do you think our working lives and careers will change in the future?
Well, life is changing pretty fast, and the world of work will naturally change with it. For example, in many countries in the world, populations are aging. This means there will probably be more jobs in the healthcare sector, but it also means there will be a smaller workforce overall.
And what impact will that have?
Well, for one thing, we are likely to have more and more automation. For example, trains and buses probably won't have drivers and conductors anymore. Instead, we'll have self-driving vehicles and a handful of humans acting as auto transport analysts. That means someone who is responsible for managing the automatic transport system, making sure it's running smoothly and efficiently.
So IT skills will be important.
Certainly. But I don't think we'll see them as specific skills in the future. Pretty much everyone will have these skills, just like they can read and write nowadays. Another factor that will lead to the creation of new jobs is the environment, both dealing with the effects of climate change and preventing further damage. For example, you might become a garbage designer, someone who designs products using stuff we currently throw away. Or you could be a rewilder, someone who undoes environmental damage to the countryside by replanting, reintroducing native species of animals and so on. There will still be traditional jobs, of course, but there are likely to be a lot of jobs you've never even thought of.
Well, we've also got two students here today, Ben Cummins and Lucy Carmichael. Ben, you've recently gone back to studying, haven't you? Can you see yourself doing any of these jobs in the future?
When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a train driver. After hearing that, I think I'll be an auto transport analyst. No, seriously, I'm not sure that any of those jobs would be for me, but I completely agree that IT skills are going to be vital. My IT skills aren't bad, but I'm nearly 30, and I'm very well aware that younger generations are going to be much more proficient. So I'm taking a course in app design at the University of Westminster. It starts next week, and I'm really excited. Lots of people can use social media, but not many people know how to program.
That's great. Things are moving so fast these days that it's important to keep your qualifications up to date. What about you, Lucy?
Actually, I'm studying design, so I might quite fancy being a garbage designer. I'm certainly going to work in design in some way.
How about being a nostalgist? Another big trend is customization, providing goods and services specifically tailored to what individuals want. Nostalgists will be interior designers who specialize in recreating a particular time in the past. This will be particularly attractive to older people, who often like to relive happy memories and might like their house to be decorated in the style of the 1960s or 1970s, for example.
That sounds fascinating. I'd love to research the past for people.
Well, let me know if you do decide to become a nostalgist.
Yeah, I will do.
Audio 3.2.
When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a train driver. After hearing that, I think I'll be an auto transport analyst. No, seriously, I'm not sure that any of those jobs would be for me, but I completely agree that IT skills are going to be vital. My IT skills aren't bad, but I'm nearly 30, and I'm very well aware that younger generations are going to be much more proficient. So I'm taking a course in app design at the University of Westminster. It starts next week, and I'm really excited. Lots of people can use social media, but not many people know how to program.
That's great. Things are moving so fast these days that it's important to keep your qualifications up to date. What about you, Lucy?
Actually, I'm studying design, so I might quite fancy being a garbage designer. I'm certainly going to work in design in some way.
How about being a nostalgist? Another big trend is customization, providing goods and services specifically tailored to what individuals want. Nostalgists will be interior designers who specialize in recreating a particular time in the past. This will be particularly attractive to older people, who often like to relive happy memories and might like their house to be decorated in the style of the 1960s or 1970s, for example.
That sounds fascinating. I'd love to research the past for people.
Well, let me know if you do decide to become a nostalgist.
Yeah, I will do.
Audio 3.3.
I'm in my third year at university, which means that I graduate this summer, assuming I pass the course. There's a lot of unemployment at the moment, so it's probably going to be quite hard to get a good job straight away. I'm going to work in my parents' shop over the summer and get some money together, and then, in September, I'm planning on visiting a friend in Vancouver, Canada. It will be lovely to see her again, and who knows, I might find a job there too.
Audio 3.4.
Light. Will.
Audio 3.5.
Life. Slow. Lost. Final. Wheel. Help. Caller. Told. Spell.
Audio 3.6. 1,
Winning a gold medal is quite an achievement.
2,
All her gold jewellery was taken in the robbery.
3,
The gold necklace was part of her inheritance.
4,
The Incas were an ancient civilization.
5,
Thank you for your generosity.
6,
The whole village received an invitation to the wedding.
7,
Having enough money gives you the freedom to do what you want.
8,
Gold has a special significance in some countries.
9,
I have a preference for silver jewellery rather than gold.
10,
I get a lot of enjoyment from shopping.
Audio 3.7. 1,
Achievement.
2,
Robbery.
3,
Inheritance.
4,
Civilization.
5,
Generosity.
6,
Invitation.
7,
Freedom.
8,
Significance.
9,
Preference.
10.
Enjoyment.
Audio 3.8.
So, what do you think about the first one?
I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. After all, we can't all keep flying to places all the time, can we? The planet would get so polluted.
Well, you may be right about that, but I still doubt people would be satisfied with a virtual holiday. I expect they'll just travel more within their own countries.
I don't like the sound of a printed meal much, do you? But I think it's bound to happen. In fact, I think they're already developing the technology.
Really? There's no chance of me eating something like that.
And what about the last one?
Oh, that's sure to happen. People will get fed up with being in front of a screen all the time.
Well, yes, I suppose it might happen.
Audio 3.9. 1,
I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
2,
I still doubt people would be satisfied with a virtual holiday.
3,
I expect they'll just travel more within their own countries.
4,
I think it's bound to happen.
5,
There's no chance of me eating something like that.
6,
Oh, that's sure to happen.
7,
Well, yes, I suppose it might happen.
Audio 3.10. 1,
Later today, I'm going to... Later today, I'm going to...
2,
This time next week, I will be... This time next week, I will be...
3,
By the time I'm 70, I will have... By the time I'm 70, I will have...
4,
After work next Friday, After work next Friday,
5,
As soon as possible, As soon as possible,
6,
After I've finished this course, I think I'll... After I've finished this course, I think I'll...
Audio 3.11. 1,
The firefighter received an award for her bravery.
2,
People usually work better if they're given encouragement.
3,
He has a lot of ability in the subject, but doesn't work very hard.
4,
Thank you for your assistance.
I was glad to help.
5,
I dream of being a pop star, but in reality I know it isn't very likely.
6,
Older people have greater wisdom because of their life experience.
Audio 4.1.
So, today on Wired World, we're looking at some of the entries for this year's James Dyson Award. The British engineer James Dyson created the award in 2007 to inspire university students and graduates around the world to come up with some great new ideas in design and engineering. So, this year, well, first of all, we have a simple but very clever idea by industrial designer Muji Yakamoto. This invention has been designed to take up as little space as possible. It is called stack, because the printer is placed on top of a pile or stack of paper. When something is being printed, stack moves slowly downwards. The paper disappears under the printer and exits on top, where a new pile is created. The next invention has been given a Japanese name, Mamori, which means protect. But the inventor, Mark Dillon, is actually Irish. The name is a good one, however, because that's exactly what this device does. Gaelic football, very popular in Ireland, is quite a dangerous sport. Recent research showed that on average, 2 out of every 3 players on a team had been injured last year. Mamori is worn inside the mouth. It protects the player's teeth, but the players are also monitored for injury, and the information is sent wirelessly to a computer. If a player is moving more slowly than usual, for example, it will be measured and noticed, and the player will be taken out of the game so he can be treated. The third invention we're looking at today, Zarius, was created by a German team. It can be attached to almost anything, and then used to make electricity using wind power. The energy which has been generated is then used to recharge mobile phones and so on. And finally, Sono, designed by a team from Austria. This is fixed to a window and helps to stop outside noise coming inside. And not only is noise from outside reduced, but the person inside can actually choose which sounds he or she does or doesn't want to hear. The sounds can be controlled by twisting the middle of the sono, so you can keep the sound of birds singing while getting rid of the sound of that car alarm. Amazing.
Audio 4.2.
The problem of drought-affected farmers may have been solved by a recent Dyson Award winner, Edward Lineker. Lineker had been inspired by Australia's worst drought in a century when he invented airdrop. Using his system, water can be collected from the air. Lineker says the idea was given to him by the Namib beetle, which survives in the desert by collecting tiny amounts of moisture. Lineker has recently been asked to develop his device by the Chinese government and companies in the Middle East, but for now he wants to keep working on it himself. Up until now, the system has been developed in his mum's backyard. In the future, it will be taken up to a more industrial level.
Audio 4.3. 1.
The problem of drought-affected farmers may have been solved by a recent James Dyson Award winner.
2.
Lineker had been inspired by Australia's worst drought in a century.
3.
The idea was given to him by the Namib beetle.
4.
Lineker has recently been asked to develop his device by the Chinese government.
5.
The system has been developed in his mum's backyard.
6.
In the future, it'll be taken up to a more industrial level.
Audio 4.4.
Most people have particular ways of working or studying that they feel work best for them. For example, my partner always has music on while she works, whereas I prefer silence. Is this just a personal preference, or is one actually better than the other? Some of the things that scientists have been finding out about how we can be most creative might surprise you. It turns out that she's right and I'm wrong, not for the first time. According to Professor Ravi Mehta, a moderate level of noise is better for our creativity than silence, so quiet music is a good idea. Too much noise isn't good though, especially listening to other people's telephone conversations. This is particularly distracting because our brain is automatically trying to solve the puzzle of what is being said by the person we can't hear. And what about heating? Surely it's better to be in a cooler room to stop yourself from being sleepy? Well, apparently not. One study from Cornell University showed that when temperatures were lower at 20 degrees Celsius, employees made 44% more mistakes than when it was 25 degrees. If you're feeling cold, you're using a lot of your precious energy to keep warm, so there's less energy for being innovative. And that's not all. Ever been told, tidy desk, tidy mind? Well, apparently having a messy desk is actually better for being inventive. Think that being tired makes it difficult to come up with good ideas. Think again. When we're tired, our brain is less efficient, but it's also more likely to make new connections, which means we're more likely to come up with something truly creative. Naps can also be good though, especially at helping you remember things. It seems that most of what I thought about being creative is wrong.
Audio 4.5.
Omitting consonant sounds. When people are speaking fluently, some consonant sounds tend to be left out. This can make it difficult to understand what the speaker is saying. T and D. When a word ends with a consonant cluster, 2 or 3 consonant sounds together, ending in the sound T or D, and the next word begins with a consonant sound, the final T or D tends to disappear. I'm not going sounds like I'm not going. He stopped kicking the ball sounds like he stopped kicking the ball. We don't usually leave out T or D before a vowel sound or H. First of all, she seemed happy. We don't usually leave out D before the sounds R, W, L and S. She seemed relieved.
Audio 4.6. 1,
It looks a bit weird to me.
2,
What does it mean?
3,
What does it mean?
4,
I'd like to knit something like that.
5,
I'd like to knit something like that.
6,
It looks amazing.
7,
I'd rather see this than graffiti.
8,
They shouldn't put it on statues.
9,
It doesn't do any harm.
Audio 4.7.
Knitting seems to be having a moment. That lamppost that you never noticed before, suddenly it's multicolored. Trees, statues, even buses and bridges are finding themselves decorated with a warm, brightly colored knitted woolen cover. It's called yarn bombing. It's believed to have started in the United States, but is now a global phenomenon. In Paris, a yarn bomber has filled the cracks in the pavement with brightly knitted wool. In Poland, well-known yarn bomber Agata Aleksiak has covered her grandmother's country house with a loose knitted cover. And in Mexico City, another yarn bomber, artist Magda Sayeg, has specially designed a perfectly fitting cover for a city bus. It's a kind of street art, a little bit like graffiti, but considerably less damaging as it can be easily removed. Nonetheless, many local governments don't like yarn bombing, and therefore it is often done secretly at night. Yarn bombing is very quiet. The yarn bombers then take photos of their creations and post them online for others to admire. It's very much a social thing, with groups of knitters working together to plan and create something. Even the well-known yarn bombing artists, such as Aleksiak and Sayeg, have teams of people to assist them with the bigger projects. So why do they do it? Unlike much graffiti, yarn bombing is often very much about making an ugly public space or object more beautiful. It's about putting something personal and handmade into an urban, industrial environment. And of course, it aims to put a smile on people's faces.
Audio 4.8. 1,
Especially.
2,
Quite.
3,
Loose.
4,
Advise.
Audio 4.9. 1,
Specially. Especially.
2,
Quite. Quiet.
3,
Lose. Loose.
4,
Advise. Advice.
Audio 4.10.
Well, I have to say that for me, the most important quality of a teacher is being patient. Teachers need to understand that it isn't necessarily that easy to learn something. Oh, and being kind is important too.
Well, you've got a point, but if they're actually going to teach you something, they need to be more than kind and patient. They need to have good ideas too, to be creative, to be able to come up with something that will really make the lesson interesting and fun.
Yes, but on the other hand, sometimes teachers create really fun lessons, but you don't really learn anything. I'm all for having fun, but I do want to get more than that out of the class, don't you?
Oh, yes, obviously that's important.
But I still want them to be encouraging and supportive.
No, but look, it is possible for a teacher to be too nice sometimes, isn't it? Personally, I think a good teacher is quite strict.
Really? Isn't that kind of teacher a bit old-fashioned? As I see it, if a teacher is motivating, the students won't want to be silly and waste time.
OK, I can agree with motivating and supportive. What about creative as well?
Yes, OK, I guess it is pretty important. And hard-working. It seems to me that teachers have to work pretty hard.
They do. And they have to be pretty well organised too. So that's motivating, supportive, creative, hard-working. What about the fifth one? Well organised?
Audio 4.11. 1,
Yes, but on the other hand...
2,
No, but look.
3,
Well, you've got a point, but...
Audio 4.12. 1,
Describing a new way of doing something.
2,
Very noticeable.
3,
Not showing thought or understanding.
4,
Unusual and surprising.
5,
Easy to understand and use.
6,
Always behaving in a traditional or normal way.
Audio 4.13.
Well, I do really enjoy my job, but I also earn quite a good salary, so I guess I'm lucky. But if I had to choose, I have to say that I would choose to enjoy my job over the money. It seems to me that you spend so much of your life at work that you have to enjoy it, or life is just miserable.
Well, you've got a point. But if you don't have enough money, you can be pretty miserable too, can't you?
As I see it, you don't need loads of money, but you do need enough, so that has to be the priority. If you don't enjoy your job, you can always do things you enjoy in your free time.
Yes, but don't you think you should change jobs if you hate what you're doing? I think that perhaps...
Audio 5.1. 1, Irene from England.
My clearest childhood memory is definitely the day the Second World War ended. It was May 1945, so I must have been 4 years old. I don't know how it happened so quickly, but my mother and father and I went down to the train station, and hundreds of us went onto the train to London, which was about 100 miles away. A long way on a steam train, and we went straight to Buckingham Palace. The royal family and the Prime Minister Winston Churchill were on the balcony of the palace. They waved, and everyone was cheering and singing. It was unbelievably noisy and happy. That was my main memory of the day. My father let me sit on his shoulders so I could have a better view. I can also remember that the Queen was wearing a pale blue dress, and I clearly remember feeling very disappointed because Princess Elizabeth, now Queen Elizabeth of course, was wearing an army uniform which was brown, and she didn't look like a princess at all. I have absolutely no recollection of how we got home again.
2. Tobias, from Germany.
I'll never forget going horse riding for the first and last time when I was about 10. It was on a school activity holiday. I remember all the other kids were really excited about going horse riding. I pretended to be excited, but actually I was feeling really nervous because I'd never done it before and I was a bit frightened of horses. Anyway, everything was fine while the horse was walking, but when it started to trot, well, suddenly I felt completely out of control. I didn't expect the horse to run so fast. I tried to get it to slow down, but it just kept on running, faster and faster. In my panic, I didn't remember to follow the teacher's instructions. And to make matters worse, my helmet had slipped down and was covering my eyes, so I couldn't see a thing. That's the thing I remember most clearly, not being able to see. Anyway, I didn't dare to take my hands off the reins to push the helmet back up. So instead, I decided to do something very silly. I made myself fall off the horse. So I fell on the ground, and all the other children had to avoid riding over me. I don't remember whether I was injured or not, but my pride was very hurt.
Audio 5.2. 1.
My father let me sit on his shoulders.
2.
I remember feeling disappointed because Princess Elizabeth didn't look like a princess.
3.
I tried to get the horse to slow down.
4.
I made myself fall off the horse.
5.
In my panic, I didn't remember to follow the teacher's instructions.
Audio 5.3. Speaker 1.
Listening to my boss. She always gives you far too much information. You know, goes into too much detail about things you don't need to know. And I'm thinking, for goodness sake, just get to the point, will you?
Speaker 2.
Watching a slow-moving film at the cinema. So many films nowadays are 3 hours long. If you ask me, that's a long time to be sitting in one place, even with a good film. I hate that feeling when you can't sit still and you just want to stretch your legs and basically you just can't wait for the film to finish.
Speaker 3.
Doing the ironing is for me the most boring and repetitive of all household jobs. It just seems to take forever.
Speaker 4.
For me, it's long-haul flights. My job involves a lot of overseas travel. I can usually amuse myself with films and music for the first few hours, but towards the end of the flight, I'm usually absolutely desperate to get off that plane.
Speaker 5.
Rainy days are the worst for me. I get really fed up with being stuck indoors in my flat. I feel a real need to get out and do something active.
Speaker 6.
There's nothing that's more likely to send me to sleep than a dull lecture. The ones I hate most usually involve a PowerPoint presentation, where the lecturer just reads what's on the slides and doesn't give us an opportunity to discuss or ask questions. I normally find myself losing concentration after about half an hour. My mind starts to wander, I start yawning, and basically, I find it really hard not to fall asleep.
Speaker 7.
For me, the most boring thing in the world is not having enough to keep me occupied at work. You ask your boss, and they give you a simple task that you finish in 5 minutes, and then you're back to doing nothing again. You don't want to be annoying, asking for tasks every 5 minutes, so you just sit there, feeling awkward. It's awful.
Audio 5.4.
In most people, the left side of the brain is dominant for language, especially grammar, writing and spelling. It is dominant for thinking logically, and it is best at hearing the rhythm of music. The left side of the brain controls the right side of your body. The right side of the brain is best at appreciating the melody of music, at understanding jokes and recognizing objects.
Audio 5.5.
Mike, what are we going to do about this vandalism problem here at the factory? It's the second time it's happened this month. First it was graffiti, now broken windows.
I know. It's obviously kids. Bored kids with nothing better to do. I mean, they're clearly not interested in stealing anything. They're just looking for trouble.
Yeah. Well, I've had enough of it now. We need to find a way of dealing with it. One alternative would be to install some security cameras.
Well, that would be the obvious solution, but we need to take cost into consideration. Security cameras are expensive to set up and difficult to maintain. We're just a small business. We don't have that much money to invest. So I don't think that's an option, I'm afraid.
Well, would it be worth putting in some of those fake cameras? You know, the ones that look like security cameras but aren't actually real.
I'm not convinced by those, to be honest. And I don't think the vandals are either. I think a better way forward would be to put in some of those lights, those ones that come on only when they sense movement. Vandals are less likely to commit crimes in well-lit areas.
Yes, I think that would be an effective solution, and not too costly, I don't think. Let's do that. I'll look into it.
Do you think there would be any point in changing the lock on the gate?
No, the gate lock hasn't been broken. They've obviously climbed over the wall.
In that case, what if we also paint the walls with anti-climb paint, just as an extra precaution?
Yes, there's no harm in doing that as well. It shouldn't be too expensive.
OK, so lights and anti-climb paint then. That should sort the problem out.
Audio 5.6. 1,
One alternative would be to install some security cameras.
2,
We need to take cost into consideration.
3,
I don't think that's an option.
4,
Would it be worth putting in some of those fake cameras?
5,
I think a better way forward would be to put in some of those lights.
6,
That would be an effective solution.
7,
Do you think there would be any point in changing the lock?
8,
What if we also paint the walls with anti-climb paint?
9,
There's no harm in doing that.
Audio 5.7. 1,
One alternative would be to
2,
We need to take cost into consideration.
3,
I don't think that's an option.
4,
Would it be worth?
5,
I think a better way forward would be to
6,
That would be an effective solution.
7,
Do you think there would be any point in
8,
What if we
9,
There's no harm in.
Audio 5.8. 1,
Zoning out is something you do when you're very excited.
2,
If you're still, it means you don't move.
3,
Yawning is a gesture you make to show your approval.
4,
If something is described as dull, it means it isn't interesting.
5,
If you're fed up, it means you've had enough to eat.
6,
If your mind wanders, it means you have stopped paying attention.
7,
If you are trapped, it means you can't escape.
Audio 6.1.
According to recent research, more and more people around the world are choosing to live alone, but equally, many people are starting to build and live in closer communities, in some ways returning to a kind of village lifestyle. In today's programme, we speak to two people who are living in these very different ways. Emma, who lives completely alone on a remote Scottish island, and Harry, who last year moved with his young family into the Lilac co-housing project in Yorkshire. Emma, why do you think so many people are choosing to live in one-person households?
Well, the first thing to say is that it's perfectly possible to live alone and be part of a close community. I'm sure there are plenty of people living in the Lilac co-housing community who live alone, aren't there, Harry?
Yes, absolutely. It can be a great way of having your own private space, but not being completely isolated. You know people are there if you need them.
But that isn't the case for you, is it, Emma? Am I right in saying that you are the only person living on your island?
Yes, that's right. Not many people choose to live so completely alone, but I have to say, I love it. Don't get me wrong, I like people, and it's very exciting for me coming here today and meeting so many new people, but I love the peace of being completely on my own.
Don't you get lonely?
No, not really. I live on a farm, so there are the animals. And if I really want to talk to someone, I do have a phone, though I don't really use it very much.
And what about you, Harry? Presumably you like being around other people.
Well, yes, but not all the time. What appealed to me about co-housing was that we would have our own private house, but that there would be other people around whenever we wanted, so we wouldn't ever feel lonely. And it's a very practical thing as well, co-housing. For example, a lot of people in this country have a spare bedroom for guests. What a waste of space. When my brother and his family come to stay, we just book a guest room in the shared common hall. And instead of every family having a tiny private garden, though some still do, we share a huge garden with a play area for the kids. It makes it easier for them to make friends as well.
It sounds interesting.
Audio 6.2 1.
Hundreds of people are living this way. Hundreds of people are living this way.
2.
Most of us love the footpaths. Most of us love the footpaths.
3.
Plenty of people live alone. Plenty of people live alone.
4.
A lot of people don't have a car. A lot of people don't have a car.
5.
Neither of us wants to move. Neither of us wants to move.
Audio 6.3
Putting in extra sounds to link vowels. If one word ends in a vowel sound and the next word begins with a vowel sound, we often add a consonant sound y, w, or r between the vowels. Y. If the vowel sound at the end of the first word is e or I, we use y to link the words. I didn't realize he would be English. I only speak a little Spanish. W. If the vowel sound at the end of the first word is oo, ow, or o, we use w to link the words. Who is living there? The class is now over. He wanted to go outside. R. If the word ends in r or re, some varieties of English don't pronounce the r, making the last sound a vowel. For example, car. When the word is linked to a word beginning with a vowel, the r sound reappears. The car is ready.
Audio 6.4 1.
How do I make a P2PU course?
2.
All the courses are open to anyone.
3.
Users can set up their own courses.
4.
So other people can see it.
5.
With over 1 million members worldwide.
6.
Leave it for another person to find.
Audio 6.5
When we talk about communities, we usually imagine a group of people who live close to each other. However, the fastest growing types of community these days are online. Online or virtual communities are used to get people with similar interests together so that they can share their interests or help each other in different ways. Many of these communities cross international borders. For example, book crossing, where people leave books for those who enjoy the experience of reading with others, has members in 132 different countries. Virtual communities can just be for fun, but plenty of them have a serious purpose. For example, many people who have a relatively rare illness can now get support and advice from others with the same condition. And of course, education is a major reason for joining a virtual community. MOOCs, or Massive Open Online Courses, are places where anyone can join in an educational course using the internet. Distance learning is nothing new, but being able to talk and see each other online makes all the difference to the learning experience. People in an online community may simply communicate with each other online, but they may also meet up face-to-face in the real world. For example, people interested in cosplay may use online communities to organise conventions where everyone can get dressed up and meet with other cosplayers. And finally, some online communities are more about improving the real community that you live in. For example, Street Bank, which is an online community where real-life neighbours can offer to lend things like barbecue equipment, or they might offer to help each other out as they do up their houses or gardens. The ultimate aim is to encourage neighbours to be friendlier and to know each other better.
Audio 6.6 Conversation 1
I hope you don't mind me asking, but haven't we met somewhere before?
I'm not sure. You do look familiar.
Are you a friend of Nicola's?
Yes, we went to school together.
Ah, so did I. What class were you in?
Conversation 2
Sorry, but I couldn't help overhearing. It's your first day today, isn't it?
Yes, I'm Peter's new personal assistant.
Ah, welcome to the firm. I'm Josie. I work in sales.
Good to meet you. I'm Sita.
Conversation 3
Excuse me, is anyone sitting there?
No. Go ahead.
Is it always this busy?
Yes, I'm afraid so. You don't usually take this one then?
No, I've just started a new job in the city.
Audio 6.7 Conversation 1
I hope you don't mind me asking, but haven't we met somewhere before?
I'm not sure. You do look familiar.
Are you a friend of Nicola's?
Yes, we went to school together.
Conversation 2
Sorry, but I couldn't help overhearing. It's your first day today, isn't it?
Yes, I'm Peter's new personal assistant.
Conversation 3
Excuse me, is anyone sitting there?
No. Go ahead.
Is it always this busy?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Audio 6.8 1
A person who lives in a place.
2
A building, equipment and so on, that makes it possible to do something.
3
Affecting the whole world.
4,
All the people who live in one house.
5,
Belonging to one particular person or group, not to be shared by others.
6,
A change in opinion or attitude.
Audio 7.1.
A scrap metal dealer who bought an antique gold egg for $13,000 has made a profit of more than $32 million after discovering that the egg was in fact one of the famous Russian Fabergé eggs, made for the Russian royal family before the revolution. The dealer had planned to sell it for the value of its gold and jewels, but when he researched it online, he found a news report about the 8 Fabergé eggs still missing and discovered that one of them was the egg he had bought.
A Californian couple out for a walk around their property have accidentally found 8 old tin cans full of gold coins. It is estimated that the coins are worth around $10 million. The couple's claim to ownership is strong, as the coins were found on their property, but they have still had to hand the coins over to an official while a decision is made about who the coins actually belong to.
An Italian car worker has discovered that 2 paintings hanging in his kitchen are in fact by the French painters Gauguin and Bonnard, and worth around 30 million euros. They had been stolen from a house in London in 1970, and the car worker bought them at an auction of lost property left on Italian trains in 1974. The police now suspect that the thieves must have abandoned the valuable paintings on the train, perhaps fearing arrest.
A bag containing $200,000 worth of diamonds found on the street has been returned to its grateful owner, a diamond dealer who had dropped the bag while taking the diamonds to be polished. The dealer didn't expect to ever see the diamonds again, but they were found by a young man who handed them in to the police. He has received a reward from the dealer.
Audio 7.2.
The first one just sounds ridiculous. Why would they do that? I suppose it must have been a way of making the car park look tidier or something.
No, actually, I think it might have been a safety issue. If all the cars are backed into the car parking spaces, then there will be fewer accidents when people are leaving at the end of the day.
Really? Well, I suppose it could have been something like that. What about the next one? Surely they can't have stopped them having a lunch break. That's awful.
Yeah, I agree. But a lot of places don't actually like it if you leave the office. They may have needed people to stay in order to answer the phones.
The third one seems fair enough to me. It might have been in a hot country where you need to get up early to avoid the heat of the day.
Yeah, it's fine so long as you also get to go home early or you get a long lunch break.
And what about the last one?
Someone must have spilt a drink over a computer.
Oh yes, you're probably right.
Audio 7.3. 1,
They can't have worked such long hours.
2,
They might have had a long lunch break.
3,
They must have hated their jobs.
4,
He must have been fired.
5,
He could have resigned.
6,
He may have been made redundant.
7,
They can't have been friends.
Audio 7.4.
Have you heard about these new parking meters they're bringing in? Apparently, the more pollution your car causes, the more you pay. I think it's a great idea, don't you?
Well, that's not really how I see it. My car is quite old, so I'll have to pay more. I can't afford to buy a new car, so how is it fair to make me pay more for parking as well?
I'm with you there. Everyone should have to pay the same for the same service, or it isn't fair.
You can't be serious. Haven't you seen how bad the pollution is these days? We need to encourage people to buy cars which are better for the environment. Or maybe you should just use your cars less in the first place.
Oh, come off it. You use your car all the time.
Audio 7.5.
I'm with you there.
I completely agree.
True enough.
Yes, that's spot on.
Absolutely.
I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
That's just what I was thinking.
I couldn't agree more.
That's not really how I see it.
You can't be serious.
Come off it.
I'm not sure I quite agree.
I can't agree with you there.
I beg to differ.
I'm not sure about that.
Audio 7.6.
Yes, that's spot on.
Absolutely. That's just what I was thinking.
I couldn't agree more. You can't be serious.
Come off it.
Audio 7.7. 1,
When she saw him, she screamed loudly.
2,
The man was wearing a very smart suit.
3,
There were lots of people at the party.
4,
He was crying.
5,
It was hot and sunny.
Audio 7.8. 1,
With lots of different colours.
2,
Only speaking one language.
3,
Between different states in a country.
4,
A vehicle with 2 wheels and no engine.
5,
A house which is joined to another house.
6,
Believing in your own abilities.
Audio 8.1.
Well, you've probably heard the phrase the Internet of Things, or IoT for short. It's a phrase we hear a lot nowadays, and experts say this latest revolution in technology will change our lives in a big way. But what is it exactly, and how will it affect us? My guest on today's programme is Duncan Bates, whose award-winning blog covers the latest news in the world of technology. Duncan.
Hello. Well, IoT is the technology which allows any physical object, a fridge say, or smoke alarm or TV, to communicate with other objects or with people.
Right. But people have been talking about smart fridges and so on for years, haven't they? So what's new about it?
Well, in the past, these smart devices were relatively rare. What is new is the fact that internet-connected things are now so commonplace.
And why now?
Because thanks to advances in technology, tiny computers or microchips can be manufactured very cheaply. These can be connected to objects, which can then be put on the internet via Wi-Fi.
So how many things?
Audio 8.2.
Put on the internet via Wi-Fi.
So how many things, roughly, are now online?
It's estimated that there are around 10 to 15 billion things that are connected to the internet, compared with only 2 billion people. And this number is set to rise dramatically in the next 10 years or so. And as you can imagine, IoT is an area in which huge amounts of money are being invested by governments and private companies. Some say this figure will soon reach trillions of dollars.
Wow! So how will IoT affect our everyday lives?
For example, you could have a central heating system that turns itself on when you're a certain distance from home by accessing the GPS in your mobile phone, so you get back to a warm house without wasting energy when you're not there. Or you could have a washing machine or car whose inbuilt computer could go online when it develops a fault and could look up local repair companies, then book itself in for a service after checking your diary for suitable dates.
So these smart devices will help our lives run more smoothly by saving us time and money, and save energy too.
That's right. And it's not just objects that can be connected, but also living things. For example, cows in a field can be fitted with devices which can send a text to a farmer letting them know when a cow gets sick or pregnant. This is already happening on some farms.
Brilliant! I guess the possibilities are endless.
Yes, and another area that I think particularly benefits from the Internet of Things is healthcare. You can now get smart devices that measure your heart rate, your blood pressure. And for people who have diabetes, there's even a smart insulin pump. The pump, which is attached to your body, monitors the insulin levels in your blood and automatically injects insulin when you need it. And because it is internet connected, this information can be sent to your doctor, who can monitor your health remotely.
Sounds great. So we've talked about the benefits.
Audio 8.3.
Sounds great. So we've talked about the benefits. What about the risks? I mean, the problem with technology is that it breaks down sometimes.
Yes, that's right. If you're too dependent on internet-connected things and your Wi-Fi connection fails, or you have a power cut, then you're in trouble.
Absolutely. And what worries me too is privacy. Who will have access to our personal data? And what will it be used for? That will be a great concern for a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yes, it will. Privacy is a big issue and security too, because every connected device can be hacked.
Yes, having your computer hacked or your fridge is bad. But imagine if your car or your insulin pump was hacked. Now, that's a scary thought.
It is, but I think there will be ways for people to protect their privacy and security. I think what's more of a real worry is how much space all this data will take up on the internet. It could really slow down people's broadband.
True. Ah, well, we shall see. Duncan, many thanks for coming in.
Audio 8.4.
Cars which are internet connected can book themselves in for a service. My car, which is internet connected, can book itself in for a service.
Audio 8.5. 1.
The man who lives in the flat above mine plays loud music. The man who lives in the flat above mine plays loud music.
2.
John, who lives next door to me, has a smart fridge. John, who lives next door to me, has a smart fridge.
3.
My friend Sarah, who works in IT, often helps me when I have computer problems. My friend Sarah, who works in IT, often helps me when I have computer problems.
4. The woman whose desk is next to mine is on holiday. The woman whose desk is next to mine is on holiday.
5.
The tablet that you gave me for my birthday is really useful. The tablet that you gave me for my birthday is really useful.
Audio 8.6.
Aubergines. Avocados. Beef. Chilies. Citrus fruit. Coffee. Courgettes. Dairy products. Onions. Papayas. Peanuts. Pineapples. Potatoes. Rice. Sweet corn. Tomatoes. Turkey. Vanilla. Wheat.
Audio 8.7.
Listening for stressed words. It is very hard to hear every word in an extended piece of speech. This is because the unstressed words are spoken extremely quickly. Focus instead on listening out for the stressed words, as these carry the main meaning. Many unstressed words are grammar words, for example, articles, pronouns, and auxiliary verbs.
Audio 8.8.
Chilies are grown all over the world. They're from the same family as tomatoes, potatoes, and aubergines. Although they make your mouth burn, they are also thought to have a number of health benefits. For example, they can help with stomach problems, breathing problems, and can reduce the feeling of pain.
Audio 8.9.
Vanilla is the most popular spice in the world. Its sweet, slightly smoky taste is often used in ice cream and other sweet dishes. It is the second most expensive spice on the market because it requires a lot of hard labor to produce. For this reason, it is sometimes referred to as green gold.
Audio 8.10.
It's hard to imagine Italian food without tomatoes, Greek food without aubergines, or Thai or Indonesian food without peanut sauce. But before the 16th century, these foods were not known outside of South America. These foods and many more were first introduced to the rest of the world during a process known as the Columbian Exchange in the early 16th century. The Columbian Exchange, named after Christopher Columbus, was the exchange of food and other things between the New and Old worlds. Fruit and vegetables brought over from South and Central America to Europe included potatoes, tomatoes, sweet corn, courgettes, aubergines, peanuts, pineapples, papayas, chilies, and vanilla. Peanuts and chilies were then introduced to Asia by the Europeans. It is estimated that 60% of all the crops grown in the world today originated in the Americas. However, nobody could have predicted this at the time, as initially the Europeans weren't very enthusiastic about the new foods. For example, it took 3 centuries before tomatoes and potatoes were accepted. People were suspicious of them, thinking they were dangerous to eat. Of course, both became very important crops in Europe by the 19th century. Ireland had become so dependent on potatoes that when the potato crops failed to grow in the 1840s, 1 million people died of hunger. The Americas gained many new foods from Europe in return, including apples, citrus fruit, lettuce, cucumber, onions, coffee, tea, wheat, and rice. The Europeans also introduced cows to the New World. After that, people living in the Americas could enjoy steak and dairy products for the first time. It's strange to think that before the Columbian Exchange, Argentina, now so strongly associated with beef, had no cows. Mexican cuisine had no cheese, and Brazil had no coffee. Although the first major exchange of foods happened several centuries ago, new foods continue to be introduced between the old and new worlds. Quinoa, for example, a grain grown in the Andes Mountains and which was important to the diet of pre-Columbian civilizations, has only in the last few years become hugely popular in the USA, Canada, Europe, Australia, China, and Japan. In these parts of the world, quinoa is now considered a superfood as it is extremely rich in protein. It seems that Christopher Columbus, with his food exchange, started a very long-lasting trend.
Audio 8.11 1.
These foods and many more were first introduced to the rest of the world during a process known as the Columbian Exchange in the early 16th century.
2.
However, nobody could have predicted this at the time, as initially the Europeans weren't very enthusiastic about the new foods.
3.
People were suspicious of them, thinking they were dangerous to eat.
4.
Ireland had become so dependent on potatoes that when the potato crops failed to grow in the 1840s, 1 million people died of hunger.
5.
It's strange to think that before the Columbian Exchange, Argentina, now so strongly associated with beef, had no cows. Mexican cuisine had no cheese, and Brazil had no coffee.
6.
In these parts of the world, quinoa is now considered a superfood as it is extremely rich in protein.
Audio 8.12
So what do you think of the illuminations? Are you glad we came?
Oh, definitely. It was well worth coming here. I think it's amazing. What I particularly like is the contrast of old and new, you know? All this modern light and sound technology against the backdrop of the beautiful old buildings.
Yeah, me too. And the colors are just stunning, aren't they? That projection of the flowers against the town hall was magical, wasn't it?
Yes, totally. And I really like the way the buildings seem to come alive with the moving images. I think the highlight for me was that building with the giant face projected onto it. When the face started moving in time with the music and making those funny expressions, that was quite something.
Oh yes, that was pretty dramatic, wasn't it? I found it a bit disturbing though.
Really? I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong, I did too. I thought it was very cleverly done, just a bit scary. It was so huge and noisy.
The only thing I'm not so keen on is the crowds. It's a bit too packed for my liking, especially in the main square. It made me feel a bit claustrophobic.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Tomorrow, I think we should come back a bit later, when there are fewer people. There's plenty more to see tomorrow, isn't there?
Yes, plenty.
And I'd like to see some of the artworks again. Like the fish in a phone box, for example.
Really? I wasn't so keen on that one, to be honest. I didn't really see the point of it.
The point of it is that it's unusual to see fish in a phone box.
Yeah, I know, but it said in the reviews that it was one of the highlights of the event, and I don't know, I just wasn't that impressed. It didn't really live up to my expectations. I think I was expecting something a bit more colorful, maybe. Anyway, I'm getting really chilly. Are you? Shall we go and get a hot drink somewhere?
Yeah, good plan.
Audio 8.13. 1,
What I particularly like is the contrast of old and new.
2,
The colors are just stunning.
3,
I really like the way the buildings seem to come alive.
4,
The highlight for me was that building with the giant face.
5,
I found it a bit disturbing, though.
6,
It's a bit too packed for my liking.
7,
I didn't really see the point of it.
8,
I just wasn't that impressed.
9,
It didn't really live up to my expectations.
Audio 8.14. 1,
Fuel efficiency in a car is not a question of speed, but of the number of revs, or revolutions, or turns, of the engine per minute. For most cars, this is around 2,000 revs per minute. That's actually just 56 to 74 kilometers per hour for the majority of cars. So 89 kilometers per hour is false.
2,
Metal detectors that you walk through at airports use powerful magnets that can damage laptops and some security cameras. So this is true. But it doesn't cause a problem because you aren't allowed to carry electronic devices through these metal detectors anyway. You put them on a separate X-ray machine.
3,
A study found that of the 243 petrol station fires that took place around the world between 1994 and 2005, none were caused by mobile phones. So this is false.
4,
There is no evidence that phones and tablets interfere with an aeroplane's navigation or communication. In fact, pilots themselves use information on tablets to help them take off and land a plane. So there is no truth in this.
5,
This is false. If you leave a game running, for example, then it will drain the battery. But if you switch to another app, you don't need to close it. The operating system automatically stops it from running.
6,
Studies have shown that fibre optic technology works much faster than ordinary ADSL broadband. So this is true.
Audio 9.1.
Norwegian people are always asking me, how do you like the dark? In Tromsø, where I live, we have something called a polar night, when the sun basically doesn't appear for 24 hours. And this goes on for 60 days. Imagine that. 2 months with no daylight. It sounds really depressing, and people automatically assume that I must find it really difficult. But actually, I love it. It's certainly very different from my homeland. I originally come from Pakistan, where not only is it considerably warmer than Norway, but the sun sets and rises at pretty much the same time every day. We do have seasons, dry and cool in the winter, hot and wet in the summer, but it's much more dramatic here in Norway. We actually have 2 winters here. The first winter is when it's dark all the time. The second winter is when the light gradually starts to come back, but it's still cold and snowy. I love them both, even though I do really feel the cold. But the first winter is really a magical time of year. You might think that everyone would stay indoors, nice and cozy, but they don't. Instead, they wrap up warm and get out in the fresh air, skiing and playing in the snow, even if it's under artificial light. November to February is full of light because it's a time of celebrations. There are lights and candles everywhere as people decorate their houses and gardens. And then, of course, we may have 60 days of dark, but in the summer, we have 60 days when the sun never really sets at all. It only gets slightly darker for about an hour in the middle of the night. They're called white nights, and everyone really makes the most of them. The nights are as lively as the days, with people going to the beach and to outdoor concerts to celebrate the midnight sun. The only downside is that it's a bit difficult to sleep. But then again, who wants to? Maybe because it is so different from what I grew up with, I love both the dark days and the white nights. But if I had to choose, probably the dark days of winter. I still get really excited about snow, even though we get tons of it every year. And it looks so beautiful under the glow of the street lamps.
Audio 9.2.
Norwegian people are always asking me, how do you like the dark? In Tromsø, where I live, we have something called a polar night, when the sun basically doesn't appear for 24 hours. And this goes on for 60 days. Imagine that. 2 months with no daylight. It sounds really depressing, and people automatically assume that I must find it really difficult. But actually, I love it. It's certainly very different from my homeland. I originally come from Pakistan, where not only is it considerably warmer than Norway, but the sun sets and rises at pretty much the same time every day. We do have seasons, dry and cool in the winter, hot and wet in the summer, but it's much more dramatic here in Norway. We actually have 2 winters here. The first winter is when it's dark all the time. The second winter is when the light gradually starts to come back, but it's still cold and snowy. I love them both, even though I do really feel the cold, but the first winter is really a magical time of year. You might think that everyone would stay indoors, nice and cozy, but they don't. Instead, they wrap up warm and get out in the fresh air, skiing and playing in the snow, even if it's under artificial light. November to February is full of light because it's a time of celebrations. There are lights and candles everywhere as people decorate their houses and gardens. And then, of course, we may have 60 days of dark, but in the summer, we have 60 days when the sun never really sets at all. It only gets slightly darker for about an hour in the middle of the night. They're called white nights, and everyone really makes the most of them. The nights are as lively as the days, with people going to the beach and to outdoor concerts to celebrate the midnight sun. The only downside is that it's a bit difficult to sleep. But then again, who wants to?
Audio 9.3.
Comfortable. Different. Family. Favorite. Interesting. Miserable. Separate.
Audio 9.4.
It's not something that I usually do because I really do need my sleep. However, I do find it difficult to sleep on aeroplanes. It was a 13-hour flight, and I really tried to get some sleep. I put in the earplugs and I put on the eye mask. But I just can't sleep sitting upright. I closed my eyes, but I didn't sleep at all, not one bit. I was exhausted when we arrived.
Audio 9.5.
Well, actually, there isn't much scientific basis to any of those beliefs.
Really? So why do so many people believe that the moon landings were faked?
When the American team first landed on the moon, they planted a flag. In doing so, they accidentally started the myth that the moon landings were faked because the flag appeared to flutter in a slight wind. And, clearly, there is no wind there. But there's no evidence of a fake.
What about supermoons? Do they cause tsunamis?
The moon does have an effect on the tides, but it only makes a small difference, not enough to cause a tsunami. Sometimes there are tsunamis at the same time as a supermoon, but such occurrences are just coincidence. Nor is it true that the other side of the moon is always dark. This is just a myth. Its far side is lit by the sun just as often as the side we can see.
What about the effect of the full moon on human behaviour?
Again, although a lot of people believe this, there's no real evidence. And there have been several scientific studies which failed to prove it was true.
But I do think the last one is right, though, isn't it?
Well, if the moon disappeared, the Earth would sometimes lie on its side. This would cause extreme temperatures and different lengths of daylight. On Mars, the axis tilts so much that the ice at its poles has sometimes moved all the way down to the equator. If the same happened here, large areas of Africa would be occasionally covered in ice, making it impossible to live there. At other times, the Earth might revolve on a straighter axis, and, if it did so, there would be no seasons at all. But the Earth would survive.
Audio 9.6.
So as I said earlier, the proposed new food quarter will be in Regent Court. I'm very pleased to say that we have had quite a few expressions of interest from big restaurant chains.
If I could just interrupt a second, is it only chains of restaurants? Or are we also interested in getting some local restaurant owners to move into the area? I have to say I'm not very happy about the proposal because of the noise and litter it's likely to cause, which wouldn't exactly be good for the environment. However, if it encouraged local business, I might be prepared to support it.
Sorry, Counselor. Can I just say that I'm a local restaurant owner, and I'd definitely be interested in renting one of the units for my restaurant.
Just a second. Before we open the meeting up to everyone, I'd just like to explain my reasons for proposing this new food quarter. As you are probably aware, quite a few of the shop units are currently empty, so I firmly believe that renting them out to restaurants would be a great way of bringing life back to the town.
Audio 9.7 1. A.
If I could just interrupt a second, I think that...
B.
If I could just interrupt a second, I think that...
2. A.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I think that...
B.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I think that...
3. A.
I'd like to say something, if I may. I think...
B.
I'd like to say something, if I may. I think...
4. A.
Can I just say, I think...
B.
Can I just say, I think...
5. A.
Just a second. I think...
B.
Just a second. I think...
Audio 9.8
If I could just interrupt a second...
Excuse me for interrupting, but...
I'd like to say something, if I may.
Can I just say...
Just a second.
Audio 9.9 1.
What things do you automatically do in the mornings? What things do you automatically do in the mornings?
2.
How do you feel about working in rooms with only artificial light? How do you feel about working in rooms with only artificial light?
3.
Do you find winter depressing? Why? Why not? Do you find winter depressing? Why? Why not?
Audio 9.10
Vegetable. Every. Camera. Restaurant. Mystery.
Audio 9.11
So, in our last meeting, we agreed that we would...
Excuse me for interrupting, but can I just ask when the last meeting was?
Yes, it was last month. Anyway, we agreed that we would try and raise as much money as possible for charity.
I'd like to comment on that. I think we should vote on which charity we raise the money for.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. So, as I was saying...
If I could just interrupt a second, shouldn't we agree on the charity first?
If I could just finish what I was saying, then perhaps we could...
Audio 10.1.
There are two people sitting on what looks like a small yellow and orange rubber boat, holding a real paddle. It appears that the boat is being swept along a wild river and that it's about to crash down a waterfall right into the mouth of an enormous grey crocodile waiting for them at the bottom. The crocodile is half submerged in the water, but its eyes are bright orange and very threatening. The people in the boat are screaming, and the woman is waving her hands in the air. There's a man crouching on the ground with his back against a low concrete wall. It looks as if he's on a tiny ledge at the top of a tall burning building. Lots of people are looking up from the street below, including two police officers who seem to be shouting up to him. Batman and Robin are climbing up a rope to rescue him. Batman is wearing his usual long black leather boots and a cape and mask, and Robin is in a red and green costume with a shiny yellow cape and black mask.
Audio 10.2.
Two hunters are out in the wood when one of them collapses. He doesn't seem to be breathing. The other guy takes out his phone and calls the emergency services. He gasps, "My friend is dead! What should I do?" The operator says, "Calm down, I can help. First, let's make sure he's dead." There is a silence. Then a shot is heard. When he gets back on the phone, the guy says, "OK, now what?"
Audio 10.3.
What makes us laugh? And do we all find the same things funny? It's often said that different nationalities have different senses of humor, but is there any evidence for that?
Well, there was some research done a few years back into the world's funniest joke by a group of researchers who called themselves Laugh Lab. They received over 40,000 jokes from quite a number of different countries, and they did seem to identify some differences. According to the study, people from Ireland, the UK, Australia and New Zealand showed a strong preference for jokes with some kind of wordplay or pun, where a word has two meanings. Americans and Canadians seem to prefer jokes where someone looks stupid or was made to look stupid by another person. And many European countries, such as France, Denmark and Belgium, like to make a joke out of topics that usually make us feel anxious, like illness and death. If you joke about it, it doesn't make you as anxious, I suppose.
Yes, maybe. But you...
Audio 10.4.
Make you as anxious, I suppose.
Yes, maybe. But you do have to be careful about humor, don't you? I'm very careful about telling jokes to people I don't know, in case I offend them.
Yes, there are quite a lot of jokes I don't tell unless I know the people pretty well. What one person thinks is hilarious, another might find really distasteful or just annoying.
Do jokes have anything in common, though? What actually makes us laugh?
Well, there's usually something unexpected in there. We talk about a punchline at the end of a joke, the final line that hits us and makes us laugh. For example, there's a famous Groucho Marx joke in the film Animal Crackers. He says, "One morning I shot an elephant in my pyjamas. How he got into my pyjamas, I'll never know." We usually laugh as soon as we realise that we've been mentally going in the wrong direction. That's why there's a strong link between a sense of humour and being intelligent, because your brain has got to react pretty quickly to get the joke. It's also one of the ways in which you can still tell the difference between a computer and a human.
What? When you tell a computer a joke, it won't laugh?
No, obviously it won't laugh, but it won't even get the joke. Understanding a joke requires a lot of world knowledge, linguistic knowledge, and that ability to suddenly shift quickly from what you were expecting to hear. Even young children struggle with this until they get to about 5. You hear them telling jokes that just don't make any sense at all.
Sometimes that's funnier than a proper joke, though.
Audio 10.5.
And many European countries, such as France, Denmark, and Belgium, like to make a joke out of topics that usually make us feel anxious, like illness and death. If you joke about it, it doesn't make you as anxious, I suppose.
Yes, maybe. But you do have to be careful about humor, don't you? I'm very careful about telling jokes to people I don't know, in case I offend them.
Yes, there are quite a lot of jokes I don't tell unless I know the people pretty well. What one person thinks is hilarious, another might find really distasteful or just annoying.
Do jokes have anything in common, though? What actually makes us laugh?
Well, there's usually something unexpected in there. We talk about a punchline at the end of a joke, the final line that hits us and makes us laugh. For example, there's a famous Groucho Marx joke in the film Animal Crackers. He says, "One morning I shot an elephant in my pyjamas. How he got into my pyjamas, I'll never know." We usually laugh as soon as we realise that we've been mentally going in the wrong direction. That's why there's a strong link between a sense of humour and being intelligent, because your brain has got to react pretty quickly to get the joke. It's also one of the ways in which you can still tell the difference between a computer and a human.
What? When you tell a computer a joke, it won't laugh?
No, obviously it won't laugh, but it won't even get the joke. Understanding a joke requires a lot of world knowledge, linguistic knowledge, and that ability to suddenly shift quickly from what you were expecting to hear. Even young children struggle with this until they get to about 5. You hear them telling jokes that just don't make any sense at all.
Sometimes that's funnier than a proper joke, though.
Audio 10.6.
Annoying. Childish. Comical. Distasteful. Hilarious. Irritating. Pointless. Predictable. Ridiculous. Tedious. Thought-provoking. Witty.
Audio 10.7.
For thousands of years, ever since the great Greek philosopher Plato identified them, people have divided the taste of food into 4 different types: sweet, sour, bitter, and salty. However, in 1908, a Japanese chemist, Kikunai Ikeda, sensed that his seaweed soup had a flavour which was not one of the classic 4 tastes. He knew that the flavour was also found in tomatoes, cheese, such as hard Parmesan cheese, and meat, though not so much in very lean meat or raw meat. Eventually he identified it as glutamic acid, but he named it umami, which means delicious in Japanese. Umami is best described as a kind of savoury taste, which makes something taste really good. It's very noticeable in many Asian foods, such as soya, asparagus, shrimp, and green tea. But it is also strong in foods which combine meat, cheese, and tomato, such as Italian meatballs or a cheeseburger with tomato ketchup. Umami encourages people.
Audio 10.8.
Understanding natural speech. In order for speech to flow quickly and naturally, we often slightly change the sound at the end of a word to make it closer to the sound at the beginning of the next word. When the sounds t, d, and n are at the end of a word, and the next word begins with p, b, or m, the first set of sounds can often change to one of the second set. 10 boys sounds like 10 boys. That man sounds like that man. Ground plan sounds like ground plan. In the same way, d can change to g. Good girl sounds like good girl. S changes to sh and z to j when the next word begins with sh. This shop sounds like this shop. These shops sounds like these shops. It is not important to be able to produce these changes yourself. You will still be understood. However, recognizing them will help you to understand spoken English.
Audio 10.9. 1,
Put back.
2,
Old man.
3,
Brown paper.
4,
Shortcut.
5,
Had come.
6,
Nice shirt.
7,
Cheese shop.
Audio 10.10.
Burger with tomato ketchup. Umami encourages people to eat, which may be why it is now added to many foods in the form of monosodium glutamate. It may also affect your choice of drinks while on board an aeroplane. According to Charles Spence, Professor of Experimental Psychology at Oxford University, tomato juice should taste better than other drinks. In fact, many people on aeroplanes do seem to choose it. This could be because the umami flavour is one of the only tastes strong enough to be perceived over the sound of the engines. In fact, Professor Spence claims to have found that the sense of sound actually has quite an impact on how we taste things. Through his research, Professor Spence discovered that diners believed food tasted bitter when listening to low-pitched notes played by brass instruments, while listening to high-pitched notes played by the piano made it taste sweeter. So, sweet-sounding music could be used to make diners think that what they are eating is up to 10% sweeter than it actually is, allowing the chef to reduce sugar without affecting the taste. Other kinds of music could make food taste less salty or less sour. Ever wondered why crisps come in noisy packets? They don't make the crisps last any longer, but they do add to the sensation of crunchiness. The actual sound of the food must also be considered because we associate the sound of crunchiness with food being fresher. Another piece of Professor Spence's research recorded people biting into potato crisps and then played back the crunching sound. When they played the crunches at a louder volume, people rated the crisps as being fresher and tastier. Professor Spence also found that a dessert placed on a white plate tasted 10% sweeter than one served on a black plate, indicating that the sense of sight also affects how food tastes. Restaurants are starting to take some of these ideas on board, playing music to match the food, and not only thinking about whether the food looks nice, but also how the presentation might affect the taste. Professor Spence.
Audio 10.11. Audio 10.12.
OK, well, my photo is of a market. There's a man in the foreground cooking something.
Sorry, did you say cooking?
Yes.
That's a difference then. My photo shows a market too, but I can't see anyone cooking anything. And I don't think I can see any men either. They all seem to be women. They're wearing headscarves or straw hats and brightly coloured dresses.
Mine's a mixture of men and women. I don't think anyone is wearing a hat or a headscarf. What else? What are they selling? My photo shows some different fruit and vegetables. I can see a lot of bananas.
Ah, mine are selling fruit and vegetables too, and lots of bananas. But I bet your sellers aren't on the water.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by on the water.
I mean they're in boats.
In boats?
You look a bit confused. You know, it's a floating market. All the sellers are in boats on the river.
Oh, I see. No, I think my sellers are definitely on land. So they're the same in that it's a market, they're selling fruit and vegetables, and different in that I've got men and women selling, and you've got only women, and your sellers are in boats.
Audio 10.13. 1,
Sorry, did you say cooking?
2,
I'm not quite sure what you mean by on the water.
3,
You look a bit confused. You know, it's a floating market.
Audio 10.14. 1,
The scientist, the animals over a 3-month period.
2,
As he into her dark brown eyes, he realized he was falling in love.
3,
You need to check your homework again. I've quite a few mistakes.
4,
He at me every time I say anything. It's really making me nervous.
5,
Everyone at her bright red and purple fur coat.
6,
I didn't have time to read the paper today. I just at the headlines.
Audio 10.15. 1,
Very silly or unreasonable.
2,
Not interesting and taking too long.
3,
Not worth doing or watching.
4,
Clever and amusing.
5,
Stupid or silly.
6,
Unpleasant or offensive.
Audio 10.16. 1,
American children and adults do watch a lot of TV, but not as much as that. The average for a child in the USA is 4 hours a day.
2,
Amazingly, the second statement is true. Babies can distinguish between different languages before they are born.
3,
The third statement is also true. It seems that boys are generally less interested in reading than girls, and using a touchscreen device can help to get them more involved.
4,
Babies cannot see very well when they are born, but they can definitely see a face that is quite close to them.
5.
People used to think that listening to Mozart made children more intelligent, but in fact, the research was done using adults, not children, and the effect only lasted about 15 minutes.
6.
This percentage was true in 2010. It's probably a lot more than 45% now. So be careful what you put online.
Audio 10.17. 1,
So, are you saying that...
2,
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
3,
Do you see what I mean?
4,
You look a bit confused.
5,
Am I right in thinking that...
6.
I'm not entirely sure what you mean by...
Audio 11.1. Story 1.
In France, a supermarket chain has been selling ugly fruit and vegetables to customers at a discounted rate to raise awareness of the problem of food waste and provide customers with a cheaper shopping alternative. The aim of the campaign is to highlight the fact that millions of tons of food are wasted every year because many supermarket buyers refuse to buy odd-shaped fruit and vegetables from farmers. Customers were invited to blind taste both the ugly and standard fruit, and they admitted that they tasted exactly the same. The supermarket claims that the campaign was a success. All the ugly fruit and vegetables were sold out within 3 days, and the number of customers rose by 24% during that period. The supermarket has announced that it is now looking at rolling out the campaign across all of its stores in France.
Story 2.
A new species of monkey has been discovered in the forests of Myanmar, formerly known as Burma. A team of wildlife conservationists based in Cambridge in the UK made the discovery after hunters reported seeing a monkey which was unlike anything else in the area. The monkeys have a wide, turned-up nose, which fills with water when it rains. The local people assured the conservationists that the monkeys would be easy to locate because whenever it was raining, water would get up their noses and they could be heard sneezing. Consequently, the monkeys spend rainy days sitting with their heads between their knees to avoid this. Although the discovery of a new species is exciting, conservationists have warned that these monkeys were already on the endangered species list.
Story 3.
In Norway, 2 teenagers found cash worth $81,500 in a bag on a train and handed it in to the police. The money belonged to an elderly man who had left the bag on the seat. The bag also contained a passport belonging to the man. The teenagers immediately called the police to inform them that they had found the money. Police have praised the teenagers for being honest, but the teens denied acting heroically, pointing out that the cash wasn't actually theirs, and it hadn't occurred to them to keep it. The police were unable to confirm whether the teenagers had received a reward for their honesty.
Audio 11.2. 1,
The supermarket has announced it will continue the campaign. The supermarket has announced it will continue the campaign.
2,
The supermarket claims that the campaign was a success. The supermarket claims that the campaign was a success.
3,
The teenagers pointed out that the cash wasn't actually theirs. The teenagers pointed out that the cash wasn't actually theirs.
4.
Hunters reported seeing an unusual monkey in the area. Hunters reported seeing an unusual monkey in the area.
Audio 11.3.
Admit. Announce. Assure. Confirm. Deny. Inform. Invite. Persuade. Refuse. Remind. Report.
Audio 11.4. 1.
Don't forget to email him.
2.
I did not copy her essay.
3.
I'm not eating that.
4.
Yes, I'm sorry, I drove very carelessly.
5.
Don't worry, I won't be late.
6.
Would you like to come to the concert with me?
Audio 11.5.
Excuse me, could you spare a few minutes to answer some questions for a survey about the role of online news in people's lives?
Okay.
Sure.
Great. So, if I could just ask you your names.
Luke.
Rosie.
Right. So, first of all, can you tell me how often you look at online news sites?
It's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, and the last thing I do before going to sleep. I also check them several times a day. I don't know, 10 times, 15, maybe more.
More, I'd say.
I suppose I do find it quite addictive. Not because I need to know everything that's happening in the news, but just because I need something to fill the time when I've got nothing to do. Like when I'm on the train or when the adverts come on TV.
Rosie, how often do you use online news sites?
Not often, to be honest. I don't have a smartphone, so I don't read the news on my phone. Also, I have a computer-based job, and I'd rather not spend my life staring at a computer screen. So I tend to watch the news on TV in the morning before I go to work.
So you never read the news online?
Obviously, I do occasionally, on my laptop. But there's so much information, it's hard to know sometimes where to start. I also don't trust a lot of what's online, apart from a very small number of sites. I don't feel the news is very objective. It's often not based on facts.
And do either of you ever read a printed newspaper?
What, you mean an actual paper newspaper? No, never. Too expensive. And the size, especially the big ones, the broadsheets, they're unmanageable. So difficult to hold when you're on the train or whatever.
I read printed newspapers. I like the physical feel of them. I sometimes read the free ones you get at the underground stations, but I'd never actually pay for one.
So tell me what kind of news sites you like.
Well, I like to read a combination of serious news sites. You know, the online app versions of serious newspapers, which give reliable news. News that you can believe. But I also like more informal sites, like BuzzFeed, which, as well as being entertaining, are often quite informative. You can learn a lot from them. But the main reason I like to read those is that they are specifically aimed at my generation. So, people in their 20s.
I'm not so keen on that kind of site.
What do you like?
I'm particularly interested in local and regional news and stuff that's relevant to my life and work. The other thing I like, and Luke doesn't approve of this at all, is looking at celebrity photos and gossip.
Oh.
But, you know, I have a very stressful job and sometimes I need to read something light-hearted, something that doesn't require too much mental effort.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both very much for taking the time to answer my questions. It's been very helpful.
You're welcome.
Audio 11.6. Conversation 1.
Did you see that story about the Mexican woman who's just turned 127?
127? Seriously?
Yes, she's the oldest person who has ever lived, apparently. According to the article, she claims she was born in 1887. Imagine that.
Blimey. So she must have lived through a few interesting historical events then.
I know. And it says in the article I read that she's got something like 73 great-grandchildren and 55 great-great-grandchildren. The sad thing is that several members of her family have already died before her.
Well, yes. Sad. But it's hardly surprising, really.
Apparently, although her physical health is not that great, she's really mentally aware and still tells some incredible stories of the Mexican Revolution.
So is she in the Guinness Book of Records then?
Well, apparently not, because she hasn't got any proof of her age. She claims she lost her birth certificate while moving house 40 years ago.
Gosh.
Conversation 2.
Did you read about that guy who's just run a marathon wearing a diving suit?
A diving suit?
Yes, but not a modern, tight-fitting diving suit, but one of those old-fashioned ones from the 1940s.
Weren't they really heavy in those days?
Yes, this suit was incredibly heavy, around 59 kilos or something.
You're kidding! That must have slowed him down a bit.
Yes, just a bit. It took him 6 days, supposedly.
Wow! That's amazing. So who is this guy?
Oh, his name's Lloyd something or other. I can't remember his last name, but he's English, and from what it said in the article, he's quite well known for doing these charity marathons dressed up in costumes. What's amazing about him is that he was diagnosed with leukemia several years ago. He survived that and has since raised something in the region of £5 million for charity.
That is impressive.
Yeah. The article had some really funny pictures of him doing the run. Here, look. I'll show you on my phone.
Audio 11.7. 1.
This is a situation in which people, groups or countries are involved in a serious disagreement or argument. It also describes a violent situation or period of fighting between countries.
2.
This verb means to be badly affected by a disease, pain, sadness, or the lack of something.
3.
This means carrying a weapon, for example, a gun.
4.
This describes something that makes you feel anxious, upset, or shocked.
5.
This describes something that gives you hope.
6.
This describes an important development that may lead to an agreement or achievement.
Audio 12.1. Speaker 1.
Many parents have a second child for the sake of their first, to stop them being lonely and spoilt. But that's just a stereotype. And I believe one child is ideal. Having one child has enabled me to devote plenty of time, money, and energy to her. In my view, the more kids you have, the less time and energy you are able to give to each one. I also know that if I'd had more children, I'd have been less happy, as I'd have had to give up too much in my life. And to have a happy child, you need to be a happy parent.
Speaker 2.
I have 4 children. I didn't plan 4, but that's how many I've got. And in retrospect, I now believe that's the perfect number. The idea of having fewer or more is as unthinkable as having fewer or more arms or legs. Of course, the physical strain of bringing up 4 is enormous, but the joy each one brings is immeasurable. Although our home sometimes feels like a zoo, and we are like a travelling circus whenever we go abroad, there is great comfort in being part of a 6-member team. Having an even number means each child has an automatic playmate. If 2 are playing together, the other ones have each other and don't feel left out.
Speaker 3.
I believe we have a responsibility to be mindful of the world's growing population. Each baby we bring into the world puts extra pressure on the world's resources: energy, food, forests, water, and so forth. And people from rich countries use more than their fair share of these resources. For that reason, I feel no couple should have more than 2 children, one to replace each parent. I read the other day that if every couple in a rich country had 1 less child, they would save 9,441 tons of carbon dioxide over their lifetime. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Audio 12.2. Speaker 4.
I'd like to make the case for not having children. Society puts a lot of pressure on us to have children, but it's not right for everyone. There are countless reasons why I chose to be child-free. If I'd had children, I wouldn't have so much time now to devote to my husband and my career. I'd have very little privacy. My beautiful house would be full of plastic toys. My travels would be limited to school vacations and child-friendly destinations. And I could list dozens more reasons.
Speaker 5.
I'm in favour of having as many children as you can manage. I'd say at least 6 is the ideal number. When you raise a large family, in my case 7, you create a little community that supports itself through the ups and downs of life. Friends often quote school fees as being a reason not to have a large family, but if you're lucky enough to live in a country with great state schools, then that isn't an issue. There are those that say that having lots of children is ecologically irresponsible, but my family are productive, tax-paying, environmentally aware, and all contribute positively to society.
Speaker 6.
I didn't mean to have 3 children. The second of my pregnancies produced twins, and, as a result, I ended up with what I believe is the ideal number. 3 children means 3 sibling relationships. So if 2 of the siblings fall out or are on bad terms, at least they've got another sibling to turn to. The other thing, and I know this sounds selfish, but let's be honest about it. The more children you have, the greater the chances that at least one of them will be successful enough to support me financially and care for me in my old age.
Audio 12.3. Speaker 1.
Many parents have a second child for the sake of their first, to stop them being lonely and spoilt. But that's just a stereotype, and I believe one child is ideal. Having one child has enabled me to devote plenty of time, money, and energy to her. In my view, the more kids you have, the less time and energy you are able to give to each one. I also know that if I'd had more children, I'd have been less happy, as I'd have had to give up too much in my life. And to have a happy child, you need to be a happy parent.
Speaker 2.
I have 4 children. I didn't plan 4, but that's how many I've got. And in retrospect, I now believe that's the perfect number. The idea of having fewer or more is as unthinkable as having fewer or more arms or legs. Of course, the physical strain of bringing up 4 is enormous, but the joy each one brings is immeasurable. Although our home sometimes feels like a zoo, and we are like a travelling circus whenever we go abroad, there is great comfort in being part of a 6-member team. Having an even number means each child has an automatic playmate. If 2 are playing together, the other ones have each other and don't feel left out.
Speaker 3.
I believe we have a responsibility to be mindful of the world's growing population. Each baby we bring into the world puts extra pressure on the world's resources: energy, food, forests, water, and so forth. And people from rich countries use more than their fair share of these resources. For that reason, I feel no couple should have more than 2 children, one to replace each parent. I read the other day that if every couple in a rich country had 1 less child, they would save 9,441 tons of carbon dioxide over their lifetime. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Speaker 4.
I'd like to make the case for not having children. Society puts a lot of pressure on us to have children, but it's not right for everyone. There are countless reasons why I chose to be child-free. If I'd had children, I wouldn't have so much time now to devote to my husband and my career. I'd have very little privacy. My beautiful house would be full of plastic toys. My travels would be limited to school vacations and child-friendly destinations. And I could list dozens more reasons.
Speaker 5.
I'm in favour of having as many children as you can manage. I'd say at least 6 is the ideal number. When you raise a large family, in my case 7, you create a little community that supports itself through the ups and downs of life. Friends often quote school fees as being a reason not to have a large family, but if you're lucky enough to live in a country with great state schools, then that isn't an issue. There are those that say that having lots of children is ecologically irresponsible, but my family are productive, tax-paying, environmentally aware, and all contribute positively to society.
Speaker 6.
I didn't mean to have 3 children. The second of my pregnancies produced twins, and, as a result, I ended up with what I believe is the ideal number. 3 children means 3 sibling relationships. So if 2 of the siblings fall out or are on bad terms, at least they've got another sibling to turn to. The other thing, and I know this sounds selfish, but let's be honest about it. The more children you have, the greater the chances that at least one of them will be successful enough to support me financially and care for me in my old age.
Audio 12.4. 1.
I would have done things differently.
2.
I might have given it a try.
3. I couldn't have managed on my own.
4,
I wouldn't have enjoyed it.
Audio 12.5.
Regrets. I've had a few. Or so said the great Frank Sinatra in his famous song My Way. And today, we want to hear all about your regrets. Those silly mistakes you've made in life. The things you said or did that you really wish you hadn't. Or those missed opportunities that left you thinking, oh, if only I could turn back time, I'd do things very differently. Well, now's your chance to call in and get it all off your chest. OK, well, on the line we have Greg from Glasgow. Greg, tell us your regret.
My biggest regret is ignoring my dad's advice to buy a flat while properties weren't too expensive. He even offered to give me some money for the deposit. This was about 6 years ago when a small flat was just about affordable. But I didn't because, well, I don't know. I just couldn't be bothered to save up, and I didn't think there was any hurry, I suppose. Now, even the tiniest flat costs an absolute fortune, and I can't even think about buying one. If only I'd listened to my dad. I could kick myself now.
I bet you could. Sorry to hear that, Greg. And I'm sure there are lots of people in your position. Next, we hear from Jade in Bristol. Jade, what happened to you?
Something I really regret is the time when a very good friend told me she was splitting up with her boyfriend. I'd never really liked him, and I said, well, I think that's a good decision. And to be honest, I never really understood what you saw in him anyway. She was quite offended by that. And then the inevitable happened. They got back together again. Now things are really awkward between us. So now, of course, I'm thinking, if only I hadn't opened my big mouth. I wish I could be a bit less honest sometimes.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you won't be making that mistake again, will you? And next, Bill from London.
I regret getting rid of all my LPs. But it was my wife that kind of insisted. She kept going on at me, you know, saying, I wish you'd sell those records. They take up so much space and you never play them. I thought, well, maybe she has a point. So I did. But I knew it was a mistake instantly. Recently, I've got into listening to records again at a friend's house. I love the sound of records, the covers. So much more enjoyable than digital music. So, I've decided to start again with my record collection.
It's true, there is something unique about the sound of records. Good luck with rebuilding your collection, Bill. And we've got time for just one more story. Here's Michelle from Manchester.
One of my biggest regrets is not standing up to a colleague who used to bully me in my last job. She'd criticise my work, make me look stupid in front of other people, and generally do everything she could to knock my confidence. And I just let her do it because I was new to the job, and I didn't dare answer back or challenge her behaviour. I wouldn't tolerate it now. I just wish I'd had the courage to challenge her at the time.
Bullies, eh? Who needs them? Glad to hear you wouldn't tolerate them now. Well, it's great to hear your stories. Keep them coming in. But first, the news.
Audio 12.6. 1,
If only I'd listened to my dad.
2,
Oh, if only I hadn't opened my big mouth.
3,
I wish I could be a bit less honest sometimes.
4,
I wish you'd sell those records.
5,
I just wish I'd had the courage to challenge her at the time.
Audio 12.7.
Every era has a social group that rebels against society in some way. In the 60s it was hippies, in the 70s punks, in the 80s it was goths. Now the latest subculture to hit the international scene is the hipster. But what precisely is a hipster? Here to tell us more about this distinctive group is Carla Nielsen, a future trend spotter who works for a marketing agency. Carla, describe for us the principal characteristics of a hipster.
Well, hipsters are young people, in their 20s and 30s usually, who reject mainstream culture. You know, so they're kind of anti-anything that's popular. That includes art, music, clothes, and so on. Instead, they prefer alternative music and fashion. They tend to be well-educated people. Some are students, others are professionals, and many of them work in creative fields like media or publishing, that sort of thing.
Audio 12.8. 1.
They're kind of anti-anything that's popular.
2.
That includes art, music, clothes, and so on.
3.
Many of them work in creative fields like media or publishing, that sort of thing.
Audio 12.9.
Recognizing vague language. It is very common in spoken English to use vague expressions. We use them, 1. When we can't think of a precise word to describe something, kind of, sort of. For example, it's kind of reddish. 2. To say there are more examples in a list or category, and so on, and that kind of thing, and that sort of thing, and that type of thing, or whatever, and things like that, and stuff like that, and places like that. For example, the shop sells vintage clothes, records, and that kind of thing. Because the phrases are so common, we say them very quickly and often don't pronounce parts of the words. For example, kind of sounds like kinda. Sort of sounds like sorta. Like that sounds like that. And so on sounds like and so on.
Audio 12.10. 1.
His beard is a sort of orange colour.
2.
Her look is kind of hard to describe.
3.
The bike basket's useful for carrying laptops, shopping bags, or whatever.
4.
He writes a blog about hipster fashion, music and stuff like that.
5.
He wears formal clothes like ties, waistcoats and so on.
Audio 12.11. 1.
Hipsters reject mainstream culture, music, clothes, books, and stuff like that.
2.
Some hipsters are vegan, so they don't eat eggs or milk or whatever.
3.
It's a shop that sells old books and posters and so on.
4.
He's into 1930s music like jazz, blues, and that kind of thing.
5.
She likes the sort of clothes you'd buy from a vintage clothes shop.
6.
The area is full of hipster barber shops, cafes, and places like that.
Audio 12.12.
publishing, that sort of thing.
And how would I recognize a hipster if I bumped into one in the street?
Well, your stereotypical hipster wears tight-fitting jeans and large, thick-rimmed glasses, whether they need them or not. They wear old-fashioned retro-style shirts, with checked or flowery patterns, often bought from vintage or second-hand clothes shops. Another typical hipster feature is the long beard or turned-up mustache. You rarely see a clean-shaven male hipster.
And the female hipsters?
Well, they're less easy to identify, but like the men, they wear old-fashioned clothing, floral patterned dresses or cardigans, the sort of things their grandmothers might have worn.
So for hipsters, old-fashioned is cool.
Yes, and that applies to the things they own. So they love low-tech objects like record players, old-style cameras, typewriters, that kind of thing. But what I should explain about hipsters is that they don't actually want to be labeled as hipsters. They don't want to be part of a group. They want to be seen as individuals.
Oh, right, I see. And that, I suppose, makes them different from punks or goths or whatever, who are happy to identify with these labels.
Exactly.
So where do hipsters hang out?
Well, there are hipster neighborhoods in many major cities around the world, which are full of trendy hipster cafes, galleries, secondhand shops, and so on. They tend to be districts that are historically poor and run down, but are now fashionable places to live and work.
Uh-huh. So tell me more about the kind of music hipsters are into.
Oh, well, all sorts of bands, really, as long as they're obscure and nobody else has heard of them. Hipsters are very critical of mainstream music and of those who like it. The same with film, books, and art. That's why hipsters aren't very popular. They think their tastes are superior to others.
I see, I'm getting the picture. So apart from a taste for little-known bands and artists, how else are hipsters different from other people?
Well, they're anti-consumerism. That's why they like to buy secondhand things and why they believe in mending things when they break, rather than always buying something new. They're also very green, so they buy eco-friendly products like shampoo. A lot of them are vegetarians or vegans.
So I presume they like to travel everywhere by bike.
Absolutely. In fact, the ultimate cool hipster accessory is the fixed-wheel bike, or fixie, as they're known. They're sort of like modern versions of retro-style bikes with just one gear. They're the in thing in urban cultures all over the world. You must have seen them around.
Yes, I have. So tell me, how does a hipster like to spend their spare time?
As you may predict, hipsters are keen on old-fashioned pastimes like knitting, woodwork, growing your own fruit and vegetables, making homemade jam, baking cakes, and stuff like that. But probably the most stereotypical hipster pastime is retro photography, which involves taking photos on a smartphone using an app which makes the images look as though they were taken with a vintage-style camera.
Then posting the images on social media.
Oh, yes, because hipsters are very keen on showing off their pictures to everyone they know.
Really? So my final question to you as a future trend spotter, do you think hipsterism is here to stay?
Well, I think it's already been around long enough to be more than just a passing trend, and it's traveled to many different countries. I think we'll always have this group of young people that value independent thinking and fashion and culture, but like all trends, it will change and evolve.
Well, thank you for coming on the program. It's been fascinating.
My pleasure.
Audio 12.13. Speaker 1.
I'm so pleased I decided to change degree courses. I started off doing languages, French and German. I'd always got really excellent grades in them at school, but at university level I just couldn't keep up. I was skipping lectures, not turning up to classes, because I found the whole thing so difficult. Anyway, so I changed to psychology. That was such a good move. I couldn't have wished for a better course. I ended up with a good result in my degree. I'm very grateful to the tutors for being understanding and allowing me to switch.
Speaker 2.
I'm so glad I decided to go and work as a teacher in Istanbul for 2 years. I'd been working for an accountancy firm in London prior to that, but I knew it wasn't really for me. I wanted to experience life in another country, and Istanbul had always fascinated me. Getting to grips with a new culture and language was quite a challenge at first, but I gained so much from the experience, and it's really helped me to put aspects of my own culture into perspective. So thank goodness I didn't listen to my parents, who tried to dissuade me from giving up my career in accounting. And, of course, if I hadn't gone to Turkey, I wouldn't have met my wife.
3.
A couple of years ago, I decided to go freelance, and what a good decision that was. I really appreciate having the freedom to do as much or as little work as I want. What actually happened was that I was made redundant from my job in advertising. Although it was a terrible shock at the time, a real kick in the teeth, I gradually got over it and started to build up my own advertising consultancy business, which is going very well. In retrospect, losing my job was a blessing in disguise. I don't think I would have had the courage or motivation to set up on my own if I hadn't been forced to by my circumstances.
4.
2 years ago, I gave up smoking. I'd been smoking for several years before that. I'd tried to give up a couple of times before, but my motivation was stronger this time because my wife was pregnant with our first child. It's such a relief not to be a slave to cigarettes anymore. And when I think of all the money I wasted, I could really kick myself. Obviously, with hindsight, I should never have started. And I wouldn't have done if I'd known how addictive it would be. But never mind, what's done is done. And there's no point in crying over spilt milk, is there?
Audio 12.14. 1.
I couldn't have wished for a better course.
2.
I'm very grateful to the tutors for allowing me to switch.
3.
So thank goodness I didn't listen to my parents.
4.
In retrospect, losing my job was a blessing in disguise.
5.
When I think of all the money I wasted, I could really kick myself.
6.
With hindsight, I should never have started.
7.
What's done is done.
8.
There's no point in crying over spilt milk.
Audio 12.15. 1. Tech. 2.
Known.
3. Fitting. 4.
Friendly.
5. Made. 6.
Down.
7. Shaven. Grammar Reference Audio 1.1. 1.
How long has Anton been working at the university?
2.
Who's been to Italy before?
3.
I was just wondering if we'll arrive on time.
4.
Do you know where he comes from?
Grammar Reference Audio 1.2. 1.
Do you know if Peter has called?
2.
My manager won't be pleased because I haven't finished the report yet.
3,
Haven't you sent that email yet?
4,
She's been living here for 6 months.
5,
We're exhausted. We've been driving all night.
6,
How long have you been waiting?
Grammar Reference Audio 2.1. 1,
Mary Kingsley decided to travel to Africa, a place she had always dreamt of visiting.
2,
She had 2 missions to complete while she was travelling the continent.
3,
Her father's friends had warned her of the dangers, but she ignored them.
4,
She encountered animals and sights she hadn't seen before.
Grammar Reference Audio 2.2. 1,
I hadn't set the alarm, so I got to work late.
2,
By the time Nicola called, Anna had left for the station.
3,
Sarah hadn't been working there long when she was promoted.
4,
They'd been painting the room for nearly an hour when they realised they'd been using the wrong colour.
Grammar Reference Audio 3.1. 1,
The team manager won't be at the meeting tomorrow. He's in Berlin at a conference.
2,
George has decided he's going to study economics at university.
3,
Their plane lands at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. Will you go and meet them?
4,
I'm leaving at 4 p.m. today. I have a dentist's appointment at 4:30 p.m.
Grammar Reference Audio 3.2. 1,
This time next week, we'll be travelling on the Eurostar to Paris.
2,
I'm sure I won't be doing the same job 5 years from now.
3,
Who'll be taking over from you when you start your new job?
4,
Computers will have changed beyond recognition in 20 years' time.
5,
The director is very angry because the decorators won't have finished the hall in time for the conference.
6,
Do you think humans will have found a cure for cancer in the next 10 years?
Grammar Reference Audio 4.1. 1,
I'll have to go in by train as my car is being serviced at the moment.
2,
Machu Picchu was built sometime in the 15th century.
3,
I couldn't get my money back because the name on the ticket can't be changed.
4,
The machine had been designed to use as little energy as possible.
Grammar Reference Audio 4.2. 1,
We're having the roof repaired in the summer.
2,
At this hotel, you can get your dry cleaning done for free.
3,
He had to have his head shaved when he joined the army.
4,
We had the doctor check her blood pressure.
5,
I'm getting Alex to pick my parents up from the airport.
Grammar Reference Audio 5.1. 1,
I'm not sure I want the job because it involves working with children and animals.
2,
I don't mind not having dessert. I'm watching my weight.
3,
The staff agreed to work overtime provided they were paid overtime.
4,
Roger chose not to buy the sports car.
5,
The bank has authorised me to pay the full amount.
Grammar Reference Audio 5.2. 1,
I'm fed up with eating the same thing day after day. I wish this canteen had a better menu.
2,
Can you do your 7 times tables without making a mistake?
3,
He felt really sick after eating a whole packet of biscuits.
4,
Cheer up. There's no reason to get upset.
5,
Have you got any plans to move abroad?
6,
Zoe's bored. She hasn't got anyone to talk to.
Grammar Reference Audio 6.1. 1,
There's a concert in Hyde Park at the weekend.
2,
The minimum wage has gone up by around £1 an hour.
3,
Did you see the full moon last night? It was spectacular.
4,
The quickest way is to go by car. The bus takes ages.
5,
I walked up to the Parthenon. The view over Athens was breathtaking.
6,
The price of food has risen dramatically in the last year.
Grammar Reference Audio 6.2. 1,
Far too many people drive to work every day. It causes terrible pollution in our cities.
2,
Are you sure there are enough chairs for everyone?
3,
Few people learn Latin at school these days. It's such a pity.
4,
All students must register before Tuesday.
5,
Although they trained in Glasgow, both doctors now have practices in Edinburgh.
Grammar Reference Audio 7.1. 1,
I might leave early this afternoon as the meeting has been cancelled.
2,
You needn't buy any sugar. I've given it up.
3,
Children no longer have to wear uniforms in school, thank goodness. I hated wearing mine.
4,
They shouldn't behave like that in class. The teacher ought to be much stricter with them.
5,
You can't smoke inside the building. You have to go to the smoking area.
6,
Do you think that young man could be Angela's brother? He looks very like her.
Grammar Reference Audio 7.2. 1,
It's awfully quiet up there. I think the children must have fallen asleep.
2,
Do you think he could have heard us? He doesn't look very pleased.
3,
Go back and look for it. You might have dropped it in the car.
Grammar Reference Audio 8.1. 1,
Steve Jobs, who co-founded Apple, was widely recognized as one of the most creative people in the computer industry.
2,
He came up with ideas that revolutionized how we use computers.
3.
The bicycle you told me about was on offer. I got it for €100 less than the recommended price.
4.
That's the girl whose brother has just moved in next door to you.
Grammar Reference Audio 8.2. 1.
Hearing a noise downstairs, Jason got up to investigate.
2.
Not speaking any German, we missed the announcement and got on the wrong bus.
3.
Often referred to as baby boomers, this generation is now coming up to retirement age.
4.
Having lived abroad since she was a child, Catherine has never really felt English.
Grammar Reference Audio 9.1. 1.
He's a remarkably successful writer. He sold millions of books.
2.
Emma frequently pops in for a chat. I think she must be a bit lonely.
3.
I'm meeting Kurt at the theatre at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening.
4.
Don't push so hard, you'll break it.
Grammar Reference Audio 9.2. 1.
I never used to like classical music, but now I find listening to it very relaxing.
2.
My grandfather would always check the farm animals were content before he went to bed.
3.
I'm not used to making phone calls in Spanish. I find them a bit stressful.
4.
I don't think I'll ever get used to taking my tea without sugar.
Grammar Reference Audio 10.1. 1.
It was a lovely, bright, sunny day when we arrived at the beach, but it wasn't long till the nasty black clouds appeared.
2.
The model was wearing shiny black leather high heels and a beautiful, elegant black suit.
3.
He bought an exquisite 18th century silver teapot at the auction.
4.
I've just thrown out my mother's old black and white TV. She had put it in the attic.
5.
She was young, charming and fearless.
Grammar Reference Audio 10.2. 1.
You get a medal if you finish in the top 3.
2.
If anyone asks, you can say you're with me.
3.
If I get the job, I'm going to move to San Francisco.
4.
We'll decide what to do when we get there.
5.
Give me your number in case I need to call you.
6.
I won't call you unless I'm running late.
7.
I know Sam will open his present as soon as he gets it.
Grammar Reference Audio 11.1. 1.
I arrived at 6 p.m.
He told me he'd arrived at 6 p.m.
2.
Have you always lived in Edinburgh?
He asked me if I'd always lived in Edinburgh.
3.
When did you learn to drive?
She wanted to know when I'd learnt to drive.
Grammar Reference Audio 11.2. 1,
I ate the last biscuit.
He admitted that he'd eaten the last biscuit.
2,
The course is full.
She informed us that the course was full.
3,
Don't touch it, it's hot.
He warned me not to touch it.
4,
I won't tidy my room.
She refused to tidy her room.
5,
I didn't lose the key.
He denied losing the key.
6,
I'm sorry I broke the glass.
She apologized for breaking the glass.
7,
The accident was Molly's fault.
He blamed Molly for causing the accident.
Grammar Reference Audio 12.1. 1,
If we had a car, we would drive there.
2,
You could apply for the job if you had the qualifications.
3,
If he'd left on time, he wouldn't have missed the flight.
4,
They could have won the match if the referee hadn't given the last penalty to the opposition.
Grammar Reference Audio 12.2. 1,
I wish I could run faster.
2,
She wishes she had a car. Then she wouldn't have to use the bus.
3,
I wish I hadn't said anything. Now you're angry.
4,
The students wish their lecturers would give them fewer assignments.
5,
If only she hadn't taken the diamond ring, then she wouldn't have been arrested.